4th and short. They will hand it to Smith. First down. He's in the open. Touchdown, Baylor.
Welcome to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Trying to climb out of that really hard first half. 3rd and 2. They stack the line of scrimmage. There's Dom Hill. There he goes. Dom Hill 40. Dom Hill 30. Downhill Dom Hill. Touchdown. 61 yards.
The Sikkim 365 Radio Friday show is brought to you by Bird Culchin Ford.
Wide open. Kohler. Touchdown. Gorgeous throw from Brock Purdy.
Sikkim 365 Radio is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
We'll go Zeke. Off the right side, he's in. Zeke Elliott with the touchdown. And again, Zach opened it up for Zeke.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
3rd and 1. And Gary Bohannon up the middle in the end zone. Touchdown Bears.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
Well, good afternoon from Dallas and Duncanville, Texas, one of the great high school football programs in the state of Texas. Their head coach, Reggie Samples, just won his 300th career game last week with a district opening win against DeSoto. And Midway trying to find their first win of the year after an 0-4 start. And this won't be where they get their first win. That's just being truthful, because Duncanville last year won 74-21. It's just a juggernaut of a program. Midway has a bye next week, and then they will eventually be back home against Mansfield on October the 8th. We are live inside Panther Stadium. This is almost a university style. Like Midway has theirs, I always call it the University of Midway. This is a university-style campus. And we're in the press box at the stadium. Craig Smoak to my left, Paul Catalina to Craig's left. Hayden Bumpus is here. Good friend Tom Woody from Duncanville ISD is here. And we're on until 6 o'clock with several guests, including some to look at Baylor, Iowa State, and much more. Ryder Cup is going on. We'll update you on occasion for that as well. How about this? I got this from Chris. David, I don't know if you know this, but at some points today on StubHub, tickets in the end zone were going for as high as $300 a pop. For tickets off StubHub around the 40 in section 300 was about $400 for a family of 4. And again, that's changing. That goes back and forth. But it is a hot ticket, and it's great because it looks like it might be something that's packed tomorrow. Cyclones and Bears, they don't like each other. It's a huge game. Can't wait for tomorrow at 2:30.
Yeah, it's been brewing for a couple years. Iowa State and Baylor for the majority of the history of the Big 12 has been kind of it was just kind of another game for a long time. Both teams were bad at the same time for a really long time, and then all of a sudden they got good at the same time, and the fans started getting chippy with each other, which makes it all that much more fun.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's a lot of Iowa State fans probably that are raising those prices. Just given Baylor's history, they'll show up and show out for certain games, but I know that Iowa State travels very well, kind of like Texas Tech in that regard. You go to a Baylor basketball game the last few years when Tech is playing right, and there's a bunch of red and black in the crowd, and I think we'll see a lot of red and gold tomorrow. That was why the gold out was a little bit curious for a lot of people. It was like, we're playing a team that wears gold, but okay, so there will be a lot of gold in the stands tomorrow one way or the other, and a little red splashed in for the out-of-town visitors.
Yeah, I think is it Garnet or Scarlet? What is Garnet or Scarlet? What Iowa State?
Scarlet.
It's whatever USC has.
Yeah, it is, and it's a pretty color when it's put together. Washington, the Washington football team, very similar to that as well. And even your Florida State Seminoles, Paul, not quite the same.
Garnet.
They're garnet and gold.
Yeah. So it's amazing to me. I've never understood this. There are some uniforms that I think are better than others, but I've never understood the teeth gnashing of whatever they wear and the arguments that ensue over that. They'll wear whatever they want to wear. It won't affect whether they win or lose. It might affect how they feel about it because some jerseys, you kind of have some success in them, helmets or whatever else.
Smokey, how dare you say it won't affect whether they win or lose? Look, everybody knows that you've got a uniform combination. It's what I'll tell you. It's why the Yankees only have 2 uniforms. They've got the pinstripes and the grays because that way nobody can ever say when you wore these stupid throwback or whatever uniforms, you lost the game. But everybody has one where they've worn these, like the NFL color rush. I'm sure there's people who listen, when the Rams or the Titans or whoever wore these stupid color rush, we never win. So I hate the color rush.
Baylor went into some alternate uniforms back in the early part of the 2010 decade. They started winning and they had different type of combinations. They had the matte. They had the all black. They had different helmets. They had chrome. And, I think there was a win-loss column next to all of them. And there's some that are really, really pretty cool.
Well, that was part of their identity there for a little while. Not everybody was doing new uniforms, and all of a sudden everybody was doing new uniforms. And Oregon's, the main reason why that, everybody all of a sudden had 10 alternates. But Baylor wasn't too far behind that in terms of, like you said, the chrome gold helmets. I think a lot of people remember those, but you look up a year later and there's chrome red helmets and there's other chrome gold helmets and there's chrome silver and there's, whatever. So what they had kind of been on the cutting edge of in a way, even wearing gray, not a lot of people had started doing that when they did. That kind of went to the wayside with the changeover, and Matt Rule coming in and then eventually Nike and the whole new redesign, which, has been for some a great thing. For some, they don't like it. They like the options and all that. I do feel for Jeff Barlow, the equipment manager, though, because he used to have the most popular Twitter post every Friday. It was like, what are we wearing? Is it going to be chrome? Is it going to be matte? And now it's just it's going to be green or it's going to be gold or it's going to be white. And that's about it.
Well, and that was Nike's strategy.
Yeah.
And tomorrow it's going to be all of that gold that some people want to complain about. What is it, gold or yellow or mustard or whatever? They will play Iowa State 2:30 is the time. From the 217, this was this morning. Iowa State by 27.
Okay.
All right. 806 texted in a little bit earlier. He gave us a super conference involving the Big 12. A 701. We'll get to some of your text as well.
I would be
about
shocked.
Expansion and realignment.
I would be shocked if Iowa State won by 27 points tomorrow, so maybe I'll be shocked. We'll see on that front, but I definitely think that's either trolling or they, that's just extreme confidence that I don't think anybody else is willing to go that far and say they're winning by 4 touchdowns tomorrow. I expect a much better fight than that, but hey, we'll see.
All right, let me start with this text today, and we'll have YouTube, the chat room. We'll have the text line. In fact, I'm on that right now. I'm about to read something from Steven, and we're live until 6. Our guest lineup, Grayson Grundhafer on the big weekend, recruiting weekend for Baylor at 3:45. Olin Buchanan on Texas A&M and Arkansas and Arlington. He'll join us an hour after that. Brock Hewitt's a part of the broadcast tomorrow with Iowa State and Baylor. He'll join us around 5 o'clock today. We'll check in on the Ryder Cup with Arch Strickland from Whistling Straits around 5:15 or so. And Sam Bradshaw breaks down X's and O's of the game as well from the 701. Hey, guys, a person with no interest in Baylor specifically. You guys, thank you for the compliment. Have a great show. Just wanted to let you your take on the Big 12. If they add 4 after Texas and Oklahoma move and go to 16, Memphis seems to be a lot of what is obvious. And also, what about Tulane, Georgia State, and Charlotte? The latter 2 are definitely a reach talent-wise, but GSU, Georgia State, specifically has a golden opportunity with Turner Field or whatever they call it to replace the right field side. And so we've discussed a lot of the options. I've not seen Georgia State on this ever.
Well, no.
Honestly, they haven't been brought up that I know of anywhere behind the scenes as well.
Georgia State and Charlotte are certainly growing schools in their gigantic metropolitan areas, but I think that's probably too big of a jump for them to make, and it's maybe too big of a stretch for the Big 12 right now, too.
Yeah, I don't know if you're arguing over whether Memphis or Boise State bring you value, how you could sit there and say, well, Charlotte would bring us, more money. No disrespect to them. A team that I did hear brought up, and only one person really brought them up, but I know there's at least some people in their fan base, based on my research, that have discussed this a lot. They don't ever get mentioned, although they've been around for a while and are probably set up pretty well. But East Carolina is not a team that ever really gets talked about in this mix, and their fans are very angry about that because they're like, we never get mentioned in any of this.
We have kind of, in this week, we have mentioned them as a couple of teams in which there might have been unofficial, so to speak, visits and or site visits, but they're not. And again, we're just being honest. We're not trying to bring hope to you. No. We're not trying to just say, oh, yeah, I told you yesterday, the correction of Southern Miss, there was an unofficial type visit. East Carolina, I think, is in that same neighborhood. And there's been other schools as well. And let's not forget, Bob Bowlesby is, while he has taken darts, sometimes grenades, he also, of all of the teams or people who contacted the Big 12 about interest, he never told any of them just to, screw you. The Big 12 was not in position because they were the ones who were being told, screw you, for a while. But East Carolina, Southern Miss, and a few others, even the Tulanes and the SMUs, they've at least given some more time than others. Some they've just said, hey, thank you, but no thank you, but at least returned the call and not been arrogant like they were perceived to be maybe a little bit back in 2016.
Yeah, and we talked about this a bit yesterday. So you at least take the phone call. You at least see what people have to say, and you never know when that might come back around, and that prior discussion ends up mattering in the long run. But, yeah, I mean, there's some teams that obviously don't seem like they're probably realistic, and, like an ECU. And I brought them up because I was like, oh, wow, they don't ever really do get mentioned. But I think with realignment, as much as we're talking about the Big 12 and what could happen a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years from now, because it's not, something where they're announcing new schools next week. I mean, hell, they got to get the new ones in the next couple of years. But the American's the one that's going to be, the next domino shifter. That's the one that, next week we'll probably be hearing about new teams joining the American Athletic Conference based on what Mike Orescu has had to say. I mean, he said matter of weeks, not months. So maybe not as soon as next week, but certainly not too far off. And, they got to replace Houston. They got to replace UCF. They know that SMU's may be a Big 12 candidate. They know that Cincinnati's gone. They got to be worried about Tulane to a certain extent. And so, yeah, that'll be interesting to see what they do.
We have we have every single day since back in late July when the news came down that was broken by Brett Zimmerman with covers Texas A&M for the Houston Chronicle. Every day since that last part of July, there has been discussion, sometimes interviews and segments, your calls, text, and all of that, chat as well, on realignment and expansion. And we'll do that, and I think we'll be doing that for a long, long time to come as well. Here's from Stephen in Virginia. Gold, green, gold, white, green, white, and tell them to choose the road looks with all the matching like they do. The rest of it looks silly. That's from Stephen. That's his opinion. And then this. The amount of people, Stephen says, that don't believe in Baylor as a good team is large. The criticism sounds a lot like, in his opinion, the 3-0 start in 2013 and 2019. I may be wrong in my excitement, but the assumption that Baylor hasn't shown anything and is soft made by those who don't watch us play. I haven't heard a lot of that. I think most everyone, Stephen, has just said, we got to wait to see. Let's see. They haven't played anybody, but they did hammer who they played, except Texas State, I know. But they did go into Kansas. And sometime this year, Kansas will take a couple of teams to the wire. But they did go in there and do what you should do, even though halftime it got a little sloppy right before the half.
Yeah, but they still, if you
look at haven't played. They haven't played Iowa.
Yeah.
They haven't played Arkansas. They haven't played some of the teams. Oklahoma's played Nebraska. I know Nebraska's probably not even as good as Baylor. Probably not. We don't know. But there have been some they're not Boise State, the teams they've played. And so some teams at least have been tested, passed the test, some have not. And that's why I think Saturday is a barometer game without question. Not so much for Iowa State as it is for Baylor. But if Iowa State doesn't win, that's Paul and Craig, you guys would, whoa. We're supposed to win this conference this year or play for it again. This is our little stretch here. And we've lost now a conference game on the road to Baylor, who wasn't supposed to be a part of this neighborhood, and we still have the rest of our schedule left. Now, last year, they were able to recover from that loss to, what was it, Northern Iowa? And was it Northern?
No.
Not Northern Iowa. They lost the Louisiana. Was it Louisiana? And came back, and of course they were really, really good the rest of the way and played Oklahoma for the Big 12 championship game.
Yeah, but Baylor can do a lot of damage to the psyche of Iowa State if they won that game.
I think so.
That's something that would stick with them, especially the fan base, for the rest of the year, because the feeling of if not now when is not only from people outside, it's definitely with their fan base.
Well, I mean, transitive property doesn't always work well when making comparisons, but do we remember how bad that Baylor team was last year? Mm-hmm. I mean, atrocious, right? Just bad football except for the defense. That Iowa State team they played was pretty good, right? And that game was in Ames, and that game came down to the wire. And so this team that Baylor's suiting up tomorrow is going to be at home. They got a way different level of confidence. They got a better offensive line. We'll see on the quarterback, although the skill set's better than what they had last year. The running backs are better than what they had last year. The wide receivers are better than what they had last year. I mean, I don't think there's a single thing outside of, well, shoot, they didn't even have Bravion Roy and James Lynch last year, so you can't even compare. So everything's better. And that might be the case for Iowa State as well. But it doesn't seem like it with the start Purdy's off to. Now, I know when they're at their best, they are among the best. But, we don't know what Baylor is yet. We will know tomorrow. We will know by tomorrow night where Baylor is exactly in the pecking order. And I agree with those people who are hesitant to say, well, let's put them in the top 25 or let's give them consideration. They haven't played anybody. You can't really base it off of anything. But if you watched them last year and you've watched them this year, you see, unless you're just blind, that they are far better than they were at this time a year ago. So that's why I'm expecting a good game. And, I think Iowa State has to be the favorite. But, right now, I think they're a slight favorite heading into tomorrow. But, again, like I said earlier, we'll see.
Well, we showed you a graphic yesterday. We're not going to do that today, but we showed you a graphic yesterday of kind of this amazing presentation. We will have one of the authors of that, one of the presenters of that, one that put all that together. He'll probably be with us on Wednesday's show. And we're going to be able to show you some graphics about who's in, who's not, why, and all of the various angles that may explain a little bit more of not only what's already happened, but what also could happen as well. Now, you guys remember the segment with John Martin from Memphis 92.9 ESPN?
Yes.
So he was very opinionated. He was also, I thought, very passionate. And he wants, obviously, like a lot of people do, Memphis to be who's next, up next, right? Next in line. He took some heat for the comment he made about the Liberty Bowl. He took some heat from a lot of Memphis fans, and most of them were older demographic, about him saying that the Liberty Bowl was a dump. And he really was referring to as well the press box. Okay, if you're a fan, you worry about where you sit in concessions. If you're in the media, you probably work on the press box, or you'd like to see the amenities you need. But I had a long letter from George, who was fantastic. He sent it to Brian Etheridge, who sent it to me, and I responded to George today. I think everybody in Memphis would love to see them included in Chapter 2. There's no question about that. But he took some major darts for saying that the Liberty Bowl was a dump. Now, remember, there's a concern of whether or not they want to go spend money on an on-campus stadium or renovate the Liberty Bowl. And I was the one, and someone said that John reported this. I don't know if he was speculating. I was the one that reported that Memphis's incoming president, that the outgoing president did not want to sit there and make decisions for the incoming president and wanted him to lead and put them wherever he wanted to put them, however they wanted to position them to be a part of possibly any kind of Power 5 or the realignment. The commitment to Memphis football is really good. We've seen it. Go look at some pictures from maybe even last year or the last 5 years and where they are now. So I wanted to clarify that. John Martin did not report that. I'm the one that asked him about that because I've heard that from sources who have been really good for us since late July on the Big 12 and those interested in joining or who will be a part of Chapter 2 as well.
I do think that there might be fans that might be a little nostalgic about the Liberty Bowl.
There were fans nostalgic about Floyd Casey. Yeah. They didn't want to move out of that stadium. And look, they got the state of the art. Well, there are some, and sometimes it might be an older group.
Oh, I understand. Nostalgia is powerful. Nostalgia is what sells toys, and it's why you've got adults that are still collecting toys and all like nostalgia is a powerful thing. I totally get it. I have, my own hobbies that are very much based off of, the cartoons I watched as a kid or something like that, but that's like changing history at the same time as well. Like if you could possibly walk into Floyd Casey versus McLean Stadium, but you know what? Personal memories, like I said, nostalgia. I get it. I think the one tweet that I saw, because I heard that there was a little bit of a back and forth.
Yeah.
The one tweet I saw was just taking things way too seriously, and I just saw that and I was like, you know what? I'm not even going to dive into this pool here. This is a totally different conversation, for I guess Memphis folks to have, but. Yeah, that was interesting to see and taken a bit seriously by a lot of people.
Here's from Pete Smith, who said this on Twitter. Guys, thanks for your coverage of Memphis. They 100% deserve to be in the Big 12 just as much as any of the new additions. Massive program, backing from the city, football and basketball top-notch. The stadium issue will be resolved, whether new on-campus stadium or massive Liberty Bowl upgrades. Politics, and that's part of the background as well of what they do in the end. Pete, thanks for that, and also those of you who have been back and forth on Twitter with us as well. Is Hayden around?
He's down the hall.
Okay, I was going to check. When we come back, let's take a break here, Paul. 3:20 is the time.
Agreed on Memphis. I think having Memphis having some of these spots, Orlando, I think that's going to be really cool for Big 12 fans traveling around. If Memphis were to join the party, that is. But we know Orlando will be a spot. That's why it would be cool to add Tulane. Just the New Orleans factor. We
want them.
New Orleans, Orlando, Memphis, Cincy. Let's go. That'd be fun.
That's what we want. We're selfish. We want Hawaii in the damn conference.
Yeah,
why not?
Bring
San
on the
Diego
Rainbow Warriors.
State. Let's do it. By the way, when we come back, we're going to take predictions on the Big 12. You don't have to give us like 27, 23. You can. We try to stay away from that a little bit, but let's do a lot of text and chat on that. On Iowa State, Baylor, Texas Tech, Texas, TCU, SMU, Oklahoma, West Virginia, K-State, Oklahoma State, and oh, by the way, Notre Dame, Wisconsin as well, and Texas A&M and Arkansas. We'll come back and do that here in the next segment leading up before we get to Grayson on the official or the visitors, possible Baylor football players, prospects, and recruits that come to the campus tomorrow. Tomorrow for the Iowa State game.
Yeah, amongst those topics that people can text in about, I would also love, if you're an Iowa State fan, I would love to hear your perspective on, not on how much you hate Baylor or anything like that, but what is your level of concern or lack thereof tomorrow? I don't know. I know what Baylor fans are thinking. They think they have a really good shot to win the game tomorrow, but they're still a little bit uncertain because they know that this is a much different test than what we've seen. So if it were to go off the rails, I don't think anybody would be totally shocked. They'd be like, oh, now they're playing somebody. But for Iowa State fans, I don't know how they view Baylor's team this year. Do they think they're walking into an automatic win tomorrow?
Maybe anxious, confident, but anxious because they really don't know who they are, and they remember 19.
That's why I'm asking. Is Iowa State fans, what's your perspective on the game tomorrow? Because we know what one side's thinking, so yeah.
We're going to get to the chat room off of YouTube, channel 365, 365 Sports. Paul Catalina. Hayden got here early and worked through a lot of technical things here inside the press box to bring us live to you on YouTube and also Sikkim 365 Radio. When we come back, we'll update the Ryder Cup again on some of the matches in the afternoon. The American team did really well in the morning. A 3-1 edge after the half of what they did this morning in that competition. This is Sikkim 365 Radio. Through tomorrow, frozen 1-pound ground beef or ground chili, $2.75 a pound. Select either Choice Select or Prime Ribeye steaks from anywhere $13.99 a pound up to $25.99 a pound for Prime Ribeye steaks. Pork steaks $1.99 a pound. They have German sausage $3.50. Thin sliced chicken breast for $2.40. And then, well, we got this text. Remember this one, Paul? The pork tenderloin. My God, that looks good. I want to just slam my face into this piece of paper. Smoked pork tenderloin, $4.99 a pound. I'm hoping tomorrow, if they're not sold out, to drop by there sometime mid to late morning before our pregame and go by and get a smoked pork tenderloin and put it in kind of in the smoker and let that thing just go at it until I get back in the evening as well. Also, don't forget, they have what you need when it comes to a bacon wrap, jalapeno poppers. They have sausage of every flavor you could imagine. Tri-tip, brisket, it's there. Chicken wings, and even charcoal. It's Waco Custom Marketplace. The Bauer family does an amazing job at 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco.
The 2021 Ram brand just received first place in the prestigious J.D. Power's initial quality study. The Dodge brand finished second to Ram, and the 2021 Jeep Gladiator is first among all midsize trucks. Quality and Ram Power Days, only at Allen Samuels, 201 West Loop 340.
Come by, let's be friends.
It's football season. Sports bettors and BetUS.com has your NFL and college football live betting lines up for their 27th year. Why BetUS.com? Well, they're the 3-decade leader, and you can join now for a 125% bonus on promo code SICK'EM125 with cash, or a 200% bonus on crypto with SICK'EM200. The 3-decade leader with action on every sport across the world. We can pretty much guarantee that they've got your game at BetUS.com. Use promo code SICK'EM125 or SICK'EM200.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
For a limited time, refinance your vehicle and have 90 days with zero payments. Only at Genco FCU. Refinancing lowers your rate and you pay less for your car. You can't pass on rates as low as 1.75% for 48 months. Apply online today.
Annual percentage rate subject to change without notice. Subject to credit approval, membership eligibility, and loan policies. Go to GencoFCU.org. NCUA Equal Housing Lender.
My money, my future, my credit union. Genco.
Three Nations Brewing Company has 16 different beers on draft with a new beer every Friday. It also offers 2 air-conditioned tap rooms, a large indoor beer hall, a second-floor mezzanine offering company and equipment and patio where you can relax under the shade. Plus, you can now experience the new Three Nations Beer Garden Grill on our shaded patio with socially distanced seating for your enjoyment. Grab a cold beer and enjoy a bite from our freshly prepared and delicious menu. Street tacos, quesadillas, freshly cooked burgers and dogs, and veggie burgers too. State Fair tornado fries, nachos, and so much more, all prepared and cooked on site. So come visit the award-winning Three Nations Brewing Company on East Vandergrift off I-35 in Carrollton.
You know what would make this moment better? Pizza. Dough made from scratch and an Italian family sauce recipe pizza. 3 fresh signature cheeses making a melty blanket of perfect pizza. Bob Mock has owned Marco's Pizza franchises since 2013 and has been delivering pizza since 2001 and is the proud owner of 4 locations in the Waco area, in Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and soon to be open in Robinson. Order at marcos.com to make any moment better. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
Welcome back to Sick'em 365 Radio. Have you subscribed to our YouTube channel? Search 365 Sports on YouTube.
Welcome back into Sick'em 365 Radio. Paul Catalina, Craig Smoak, and David Smoak from Duncanville High School.
Panther Stadium in Duncanville in the south part of Dallas. We were here a couple of weeks ago at South Grand Prairie, about a 15 or 20-minute drive around the corner. High school football game tonight, 7 o'clock pregame, Duncanville Midway. Right here, we'll have it on YouTube, but also on Sick'em 365 Radio. American Ryder Cup team up 3-1 after the morning. They lead in 2 matches. Europe leads 1, another one tied as they try to head towards the end of the first day. Art Strickland will join us from Whistling Straits on the day a little bit later on. Brock Heward of Fox Sports will join us today at 5. We'll check in on the Aggies with Olin Buchanan in about an hour and a half, but Grayson Grundhafer coming up as well. One note on those who are sending chats. Hayden's going to grab screen some of those and send them to me. We're getting through a firewall with that. And Tom, thanks to Tom who's helping us out with that. Also, if you want, you can text us and we can. I am getting those. Oh my goodness, look at all the texts we just got. From the 620, do you think Kansas has any chance this weekend? Kansas plays at Duke.
Probably. Here's the deal.
That was a beatdown they took last week.
It's Coach Krzyzewski's last year. Bill Self's got a team full of. We're talking football.
Paul,
Sorry.
I know Bill Self has reloaded. If it was basketball, boy, that would be an incredible discussion, and we can't wait for when that happens too. But we don't know.
No, I mean, I would say no. I think they have a chance. Like anybody has a chance when the game starts. This isn't, Alabama versus a junior college where there's, absolutely no chance. There's some, but I wouldn't bank on it, no.
All right, here's a couple more texts from you. Steven says A&M will beat Arkansas. SMU beats TCU. Texas over Tech. Baylor wins against Iowa State. Steven's predictions for the weekend.
I don't agree with the SMU TCU. I think TCU wins that football game.
I think the reason why I picked TCU, and maybe would have anyway, is Gary Patterson will try to do something to kind of frustrate Tanner Mordecai, but I'm going to tell you that the difference with them is going to be Zach Evans. That gives them the ability to run the football. Not that they haven't done that before, but I think he's going to be kind of the wild card for them.
It's two really great defensive minds going against each other with Gary Patterson and Jim Leavitt, who is now over there at SMU. But I do think it's two great defensive minds that are trying to figure out how to make, one stop per half, because I think the offenses will probably dictate that game.
All week long, as they would and probably should, you'll see all of what Tanner Mordecai's been doing to a guy that lives, eats, and sleeps defense.
Well, and
that doesn't mean it works.
I mean, but so does the guy on the other side. The other guys watch video and they're in the film room. I mean, we've heard Gary Bohannon at Baylor's, a guy that sleeps in the film room. So that's not really unique to Tanner, but it is a nice trait for him. No, I just say that there's been 3 games, and in 2 of those games he's thrown 13 touchdowns. But in that second game he threw a couple of picks and wasn't very good with the football. That's my concern with him tomorrow. Is he is susceptible to turning the ball over. Mm-hmm. He was that way in high school. And so with a TCU defense that is going to be flying around and creating havoc, and he's the key. He's the key because they're not going to line up Ulysses Bentley and just run for 300 yards on the TCU defense. They're not. So it's going to come down to the passing game. And in that battle, I do think Tanner's probably more consistent than Max Duggan, but both are equally, capable of making a mistake here and there. So, I lean TCU just overall package, and Zach Evans is a part of that.
All right, some more from the Texas. Some of you are sending in the predictions we asked you for. From Mike, here's what Iowa State coach said at the beginning of the press conference. What we've seen from Baylor is impressive. One of the fastest football teams we've played in a long time. Really skilled people. Even obviously a very veteran football team, really across the board, a great challenge for us. Now, sometimes you have to kind of decipher coach talk and all of that. Matt Campbell doesn't seem to be one that's going to be a bunch of BS. And guess there are players that were a part of that 2019 team that had success at home and last year took it all the way to the end in Ames with a team that had been struggling throughout the year. So it's not like Iowa State, they're fearing him. It's not like they were beaten 50-7. They have the team guys who were there have experienced success against Iowa State, although last year's success a loss.
I do think, though, you hear what Matt Campbell said. He is I have a feeling he's got that kind of Nick Saban in him that he's just going to give you a hyper-realistic team. Here's a hyper-realistic dose of what you're facing. There's no, here's what you're going to face. This is the deal. This is what you have to do. End of story.
Yeah, I don't think he has to pump up Baylor or, create any motivation. I think he's just saying what's true. I think they're facing a team that's fast. I think they're facing a team with good defense. I think they're facing a team improved in every single way across the offense. So, I think that he's probably watching that film and going, okay, it's a little bit of a challenge compared to last year. And so that would make sense that would be his takeaway. I'm sure there's probably other aspects where he's confident in what they can do, but he's not going to reveal that.
Right,
give away his opinion on where they might be better. But it's just a respectful thing, just like Aranda with Iowa State. He was very respectful when discussing what they do, their influence defensively, and obviously they've got some playmakers on offense as well. I think think it's going to be – I can't wait to see the game because, it's been great to have football back and everything. Been great to see Baylor winning again.
Yep.
But, I want to see them against an Iowa State and doing it for real.
Here's the deal. You beat Iowa State. You go to Oklahoma State. That game just ramps up another level depending on what they do with K-State. You don't? Then you could be staring at losing 3, 4, 5 games in a row.
But that's the thing is, I think the Big 12
doesn't mean you'll lose all of them, but you could end up going 500 against some of those.
You could, but you could also lose Iowa State and go win in Stillwater next week.
Yeah,
I haven't seen anything from Oklahoma State that makes me go like, oh no, they're unbeatable. The exact opposite actually. So, maybe if that turns into like a night game and it's a must-win or Oklahoma State's undefeated, but they got to take care of business against the Cyclones first, and then we'll go from there. We'll have a much better idea.
On the text line, Iowa State fan here regarding tomorrow's game. We are confident in our team and in their ability, but anxious is a good word. After the dismal Iowa result, this is a huge game for our season and morale. Baylor has speed and offensive firepower we haven't run into yet, and it's not a place you go and just expect to leave with a win. So I expect a close, tough game. I like my Clones, but only by a 27-23 margin. That's what I had, 24-21. I don't think this game's going to be
in that 27-23 something. It'd be surprised if it got into a shootout. If it does, I'm sure it'll be fun to watch. But these teams, like last year was 38-31, and Iowa State had the big second half. Baylor had the big first half, and that got a little bit out of control. Even that was surprising because Baylor's offense was so bad, and yet they had a bunch of success. But they also had a pick six in that game. Am I right? Against Purdy. Is that last year?
He threw 3 interceptions.
3 interceptions, yeah.
Charlie Brewer threw 2.
Yeah, and one that
including the one that killed the game.
Sealed the deal. Scotty B, the Baylor King, thinks that Baylor beats Iowa State 27-24. He feels like Texas will hammer Tech by 21. SMU in a shootout over TCU. Wisconsin by 4 over Notre Dame, and Arkansas in a shootout 38-35 over Texas A&M.
I am very curious, and thank you to that Iowa State fan that sent that. The number 14 team in the country, they should be confident they're going to come into Waco and win tomorrow. But, if the shoe was on the other foot, Baylor was heading to Iowa State in the same situation, I'd be nervous about that game. I'd be nervous if they were starting to look like they had turned the corner a little bit and, matched up pretty well, which I think Baylor does ultimately. But, I would expect Iowa State fans to ultimately be confident but cautious going into this one. That Texas Tech-Texas game, that I am really interested in that one because I think we have a pretty good idea of what Texas is, but how good they are ultimately, we don't really know. We know that the offensive line's not very good. The defensive line wasn't very good against Arkansas, but is that the case against everybody else? We know quarterback's a work in progress, but they've got a damn good running back. Skill guys, hit or miss, quite frankly, just in terms of what's been produced this year. It's been weird. And then with Tech, they barely beat Stephen F. Austin. And then last week they win big against somebody they should win big against. But, definitely Shucks made a difference there, and they've got good skill guys. Their defense is solid, but I don't know how good they are, really. So that's, again, why this weekend's so big is because we have no idea, really, on a lot of these teams.
And all of these teams, some that were not expected to be a part of the conversation, any of them win this weekend, it jumps them right back into the equation. Paul, I'm trying to get a hold of Armstrong. I sent a video. Armstrong, can you tell whether we have this or not? I don't know how to communicate with him.
Yeah.
A video of, and don't, unless text me back if you have it. It's a video last night. The Carolina Panthers went to 3-0. I just sent Armstrong a text on this. It's a small, short little clip of video. Armstrong, text me if you have it and if it's ready. And it's from last night's game. Carolina beat the Texans, I think, by 15, 24-9 or whatever. Christian McCaffrey went out early. He's going to miss a few weeks, and
he's got a hamstring injury.
There's a 911 alert for a young girl in Dallas in her early 30s. It's not an Amber Alert because I don't make fun of those, but it's a Jennifer Smoak alert on Christian McCaffrey's injury.
As it comes to fantasy football, if you're going to get hurt, I'd almost rather you be definitely out for the year. Just tear your ACL.
Like Saquon Barkley?
Just be out because that way I can move on without you and make the roster adjustment. If you're going to have a hamstring injury, I'm going to have to keep you there.
Could be 5 weeks. If the Cowboys, it could be 4 to 6 weeks.
That's
probably right.
Look, if I have a Cowboys player and it says 4 to 6 weeks, drop. He's not coming back.
He's not coming back. They say 4 to 6 weeks when they don't have the balls to go, hey, he's out.
All right, Armstrong said he just played the video.
Oh, sorry.
All right, there was a video of Matt Rule. He was at pregame. He put up a hat on. The Texas High School Coaches Association. Bob Wager, who's the president, made a comment about it. That's a very smart, politically smart thing to do. Plus, he had a great relationship with the Texas high school football coaches. They're 3-0. No McCaffrey. They play the Cowboys coming up. So that's something that's a benefit for Dallas, not to have to face Christian McCaffrey. But Chuba Hubbard, the running back from Oklahoma State, will just kind of fill right in.
You always say that. Like the Cowboys, they're the equal opportunity beneficiaries of they get the injured player. Christian McCaffrey not going to play against the Cowboys. I know of the many things I know for sure with that hamstring injury, he's not coming back to play 1 week later. But so yes, the star of the team is not going to be there. But in the Cowboys' history, a lot of times that happens, and then the guy that steps in has the game of his life.
Yeah, you're right. Hey, for those of you asking, a lot of you are even texting me on my cell phone. The YouTube channel is up, but the video of where we are is not apparently up, and we're working on that, and we've got Tom here from Duncanville ISD trying to correct a few things, ports, connections, firewalls, and all of that. And so we are working on it. We do appreciate it. The audio is there, and we do have a camera that's on here, but it's not. So thanks to those of you who have sent texts also personally and also on the text line to 254-339-1122. All right, let's take a break. Come back with Grayson Grundhafer. Grayson, Sikkim365.com recruiting analyst. He'll join us next. He put out a story today in the premium section about who's coming to town to watch Baylor and Iowa State. And that is next on Sikkim 365 Radio. The city of Woodway continues to host events including sand volleyball, flag football, and much more. And you get a discount to be a part of those leagues. If you register, you get that if you're a resident of the city of Woodway. City of Woodway, discoverwoodway.com on all the events. They've had concerts. They've had some appetizer and drink type of events as well. And as they get those going, you'll hear more and more on them. But you can also download them on the app, the Discover Woodway app as well, in App Store and Google Play. More sports are coming. Also, the Woodway Wine and Food Fest sold out immediately as soon as the tickets went on live. So don't miss these great events. And don't forget, if you're coming into town to cover or watch a Baylor football game, Iowa State, and then there's a bunch of home games coming up after that, after they go to Oklahoma State, you can find 7 hotels to stay at in Woodway. DiscoverWoodway.com has a list of all of them, and it's maybe a 10 or 12 minute drive max, 7 miles from Woodway to Baylor University, the Magnolia Silos, balconies, and all of what is downtown in Waco that they have completely continued to renovate, and it gets better and better and better. And eventually, basketball season, the Farrell Center, discoverwoodway.com.
It's time for some high school football. Berg Colgan Ford proudly celebrates the Panthers, Cadets, Lions, and all the Central Texas football teams as they march their way through the season and down the field. Hi, I'm Mark Stewart with Berg Colgan Ford. We'd love to show you our Broncos, Raptors, and Mustangs. These vehicles are winners with their sporty options and designs. Nominate who you think deserves the Built Ford Tough Player of the Week at FordPlayerOfTheWeek.com. Visit us anytime at BKFord.com, making buying your next Ford simple at BK Ford.
Born in Waco, Brotherwell Brewing exists to serve the Central Texas community with locally crafted beer of the highest quality. They want to bring Central Texas closer to the brewing experience so everyone can enjoy well-made beer as much as they do. For 2.5 years, they've been bringing high-quality beer to Central Texas at their location on Bridge Street in East Waco. Brotherwell Brewing believes in community and bringing people together to enjoy products made in their community. So for your game day, whether it's a tailgate or at home, stop by Brotherwell Brewing for high-quality craft beer made right here in Central Texas, 400 East Bridge Street, and check them out online at brotherwell.com.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Ben Erlinson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Ben Erlinson, 100 North 6th Street in Waco, 254-759-8533. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and two-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, hand or wrist injuries, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trusts. Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
With more than 160,000 alumni worldwide and counting, the Baylor family is growing. And through the university's expanded Baylor alumni program, the family is growing closer. With hundreds of local volunteers planning events in cities and towns around the country, you can gather with fellow Bears no matter where you are. So, get connected, get something started, get involved, and make plans to get together with Baylor alumni. Visit us at baylor.edu/alumni.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. It's time for our weekly segment with Grayson Grundhafer of Sikkim365.com. Brought to you by Pioneer Steel and Pipe, where customer service is their main focus, and best in metal, steel, and pipe for large or small projects, with 2 locations in Waco and Bryan. Family owned and operated since 1943.
Earlier today, I went on the premium section, and of course there's a lot of articles about tomorrow, the game, Iowa State, and much more, even the basketball commit from this week and a few other notes. But there's also Grayson Grundhafer. Priority prospects head to Waco to see Baylor take on 14th-ranked Iowa State. Grayson Grundhafer, Sikkim365.com, does the Bearcast with Craig Tuesdays, and then also our recruiting analyst joins us. How big a weekend is this, Grayson? Is this, this is something that last year you couldn't do this. And so we've talked about visits and all of that. How big a weekend is this?
Yeah, for the Baylor side of things, this is a massive weekend. They're going to have over 30 prospects in attendance for this game. And just going through the list, it's pretty much guys who have been made priorities probably since the very beginning of their recruitment. Obviously, there's 11 of the 19 commits will be there. There could be a couple more of the commits that end up going, but 11 for sure right now. And then in the 2023 class, a lot of guys that they've gotten, really good starts with. And so you kind of want to keep that momentum going. I know the expectation is for this class to be a top 25 class for 2023. And so they really need to get off to a good start. And I think this is an area where they can do that. This is a game where if you go out and play really, really well and prove that, you're one of the top teams in the Big 12 and you can compete with a team that a lot of people thought might be top 10 at the beginning of the year, that's definitely going to raise some eyebrows. And, a lot of really good players, a lot of talented players, 4-star, 3-star guys, even one that's a borderline 5-star. So, yeah, they're in pretty good shape this weekend.
Grayson, how do you see this game shaking out on Saturday?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a really good game, to be honest. I think the spread right now is 7 points. I think that's about right. I think Baylor's going to really fight Iowa State throughout. The only problem that I see is, Iowa State's been pushed a little bit. That Northern Iowa game, that's an in-state kind of rivalry game. Northern Iowa's a pretty good team at the FCS level. And then, of course, they played Iowa. And if you go back and watch the Iowa game, Iowa State basically handed Iowa the win. And so I think it's one of those things where you just you go, man, is Iowa State are they a really good team? Or are they a team that's just been, kind of playing these tough matchups and not really, living up to the hype? But in my opinion, I still think they're a really good team that's been tested by some early tough matchups. And I think that's going to help them against Baylor. Whereas on the Baylor side of things, they really haven't had to face a whole lot of adversity, nor have they played a defense that Iowa State's going to have. And so for me, I think this game is going to rest squarely on the arm of Gary Bohannon offensively. I think they're really going to have to extend the field with him, and he's going to have to make a lot of throws because I don't think they're going to turn around and hand the ball off as easily as they have the first 3 games of the season.
Grayson, given the competition level, we always have to kind of use that caveat, and thank God after this week we can stop saying that. But given the competition level, what have you taken away from what we've seen through Gary Bohannon in 3 games, and what's maybe been surprising, what was maybe expected or better than expected? Just kind of give us your breakdown on what you've seen from him.
Yeah, so I think first and foremost, he's proven that he can absolutely be a game manager, that he can absolutely run the offense and do the things needed for them to win games, if that makes sense. He's running the scheme really well, making the throws he needs to make within the offense, and that's really worked well for them. The first game of the year, I felt like he was a little inaccurate. I felt like he was a little indecisive with running. I felt like there were still some things that need to be cleaned up as far as him reading the field and reading the defense. And as these past 2 games have gone, I think he's gotten better at that. But you still see little flashes here and there, and you also are kind of, I think for most of us, you're left sitting there going, okay, is it the competition or is it Gary? And obviously Gary's looked really well and done some things really well. But I think for me going into this matchup, I think we're going to learn, A, how good of a runner is Gary, B, how accurate is Gary with the deep ball, and C, can Gary play against this level of competition and excel? I think those are the 3 things we're going to learn. But outside of that, he's answered every question. He's been a really good leader for this football team, and he's performed really well in the games that he was supposed to perform really well in. So now it's just about taking that next step and really competing in the games that really matter, those Big 12 games against the higher-end opponents.
What would it mean, not that they can, not that they can't, but what would it mean if Gary can hit something somewhat deep? It doesn't have to be a 50, 60-yard touchdown or even but something where they have the ability now to perhaps test the secondary, at least we've discussed this, they now know he can do that, but whether they can do that against Iowa State remains to be seen. But how critical would that be to be able to get something like that off early?
Yeah, it would be a big deal. And if you go and watch the game in 2019, Baylor got off to a really, really good start in that game. And it honestly was in large part because Charlie Brewer did hit a couple deep shots downfield, and it really extended that Iowa State defense. And to be honest, I do think that's an area where Baylor should have success in this matchup. I don't view Iowa State as the most athletic team. They're not the team that, they get off the bus and you're scared. They're a team that's really well coached and they really are disciplined. But I think they can be exploited over the top, especially a guy like Tyquan Thornton, who had a big touchdown in the 2019 game. I think he could be a major factor in this one, taking the top off the defense. And, maybe we get to see a little bit more Drew Estrada, potentially maybe even a little bit more of Jalen Ellis, and that could help as well. So I think it would be huge because I think Iowa State's game plan in this is going to be take away the run and force Gary to beat them. And I think that's what you have to do against Baylor because it's clear the Bears want to run the football. So if you're able to take that away, now it's up to Gary to really make you pay for that. And so I'm really curious if he's able to do that. And I do think it'd be huge for his confidence if he's able to hit a couple deep balls. And I think, again, from a scheme standpoint, I think it would really help them attack the Iowa State defense if they're able to hit on a couple of those.
Back to the list of those coming into town, 22, 23, and 24 class of those classes. Do you have a priority list? Is it more a priority of 23? Is it making sure you just kind of make sure everyone's happy in 22? Because that's coming up here in a couple of months, signing day. Well, what would you say is the priority this weekend?
Yeah, I actually think the priority is the commit, because this is a big weekend for them. I mean, most of them are, really locked in. I would say pretty much all of them, I think, are really locked into the Baylor program and aren't really wavering at all. But you want to make sure that you continue that and that you're continuing to build those relationships and continuing to get them ready because, like you said, they're going to be signing here in less than 3 months. So you really want to solidify that. Now, I say that's the priority, but I know everyone wants to hear, okay, but, what's next? Because in recruiting, everyone wants to know, what's next in the class, what's going to happen. And I would say I think a big priority for me from the outside looking in is really the Catalina and Temple area. And the reason I say that is because they have, 5 really intriguing prospects who are going to be on campus in that area. And so, Baylor really needs to figure out a way to lock down that area and make sure that when there is an elite recruit in those areas that they're able to land them. So, a 2023 like Mikael Harrison Pilot, he's got 35 offers. Baylor wants to be in the running for him. They want to land him, and he's grown up a Baylor fan and grown up a kid that has been to a lot of Baylor games. And so getting him on campus early is huge. One of their most recent offers, Jaden Chapman out of Parker Heights. He's another one who them in Texas just offered. You need to be able to, win those battles and continue, building those relationships. And of course, out of Shoemaker, Kamari Terrell and Omari Evans are 2 names in the 2022 class that they've played really well this year and look like fantastic athletes and fantastic fits for the Baylor program. So I think that's just a really intriguing storyline that I'm going to be following because, Baylor's had some success here and there in the areas, but it feels like they could be on the verge of really taking another step and making sure that no one leaves that, that really core Central Texas area. And we'll see if they're able to continue to build that pipeline that they're trying to build up.
By the way, Franklin safety Bryson Washington, a guy that every week I get something from Franklin. He does it on both sides of the ball as well. Grayson, thank you very much. It will be, like we say, evidence. It's almost like the film doesn't lie. Well, we will know the scoreboard and what we see tomorrow. Thanks for your time every Friday, 3:45. Grayson Grundhafer, Sikkim365.com recruiting analyst. When we come back, the 4 o'clock hour, we're going to get into some of the chat room discussion. The text line available, 254-339-1122. The United States update from the Ryder Cup. It hasn't changed since the last time. We'll tell you where they are and how much time left in those matches. Sikkim 365 Radio. IdealMRI.com location with their MRI machine and the business is inside the Central Texas Marketplace, just on the outskirts, just on the access road off I-35, just south of Waco, just to the right. And Dr. Rob Maxey, Al LeBlanc, and the staff have been just amazing. I've had a couple of 2 or 3 MRIs inside Ideal MRI. I told you once about they my left shoulder has been pretty much shot for a long time, and all it did was confirm what we knew. I had an MRI many years ago in my right shoulder, and you may have had an MRI or need one. And if your doctor says you need one, you ask him about Ideal MRI, or you tell them about IdealMRI.com in the Central Texas Marketplace. $497 for an MRI or less every single time. Insurance, they'll help you with that as well. Scheduling online or call them. It's very simple. And then when you get there, there's not this long wait with a waiting room that's filled with 30 or 40 or 80 other people. And the Texan specialists are amazing. Ideal MRI will find out what is bothering you. Confirmation of whatever the pain is. Tell your doctor about IdealMRI.com.
The truck is that you get exposed for the equipment you don't have. Take, for example, your rear end. If you don't have anything back there, you're exposed about what you don't have, and that's a life. However, if you cover that rear end with a hitch, you're telling the world, hey, I got a little junk in my bed, and I'm ready to pull something. A camper, RV, boat, trailer, jet skis, heck, even a bike rack. A hitch says, I have a life beyond driving my truck to and from work, and Pickup Outfitters is the place to driving my truck to and from work. And Pickup Outfitters is the place to get a hitch for your truck SUV, van, even some cars. We sell and install just about any kind of hitch you need. Receiver hitches from light to heavyweight to pull just about anything. And gooseneck hitches and fifth wheels when you're ready to pull the heavy stuff. And don't forget trailer and brake controller wiring. It's so important to have wiring professionally and correctly installed by the pros at Pickup Outfitters. So it's time to cover that gaping hole in the rear end of your truck with a hitch installed by Pickup Outfitters. Check us out online at createacommotion.com.
Do you or your kids get nervous about going to the dentist? Stonewood Dental, Dr. Steve Childress, he can help.
I've spent a career taking care of patients who as children had bad experiences, and now they're adults that hate going to the dentist. If I get a kid at 3 years old and they come every 6 months and it's a happy experience, it's normal for them. Now they have an accident at 6 or 7 or 8 at school. Now they have a broken tooth or a trauma, and they have to come here. They're used to lights, they're used to the water in their mouth, they're used to experience, they already trust us. It's amazing what we can do with that kid without it being a negative thing. But if I see a 6 or 7 or 8 year old that's never been to the dentist, and now they have a trauma or an unfortunate unexpected toothache, it's harder to do that for that kid and it not be somewhat of a negative experience. So bottom line is I try to teach kids and adults and teenagers and everybody the way I'd want my family treated, which is where it's a necessary part of life. You just take care of it. It doesn't have to be that big a deal.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
In Texas, there's pea-size hail and baseball-size hail. Guess which one hit our house? We didn't even know where to begin, but we called our Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent, and he was so reassuring. He knew exactly what to do to get our house back into shape and our lives back to normal. Now, we're even more thankful for the roof over our heads.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness continues to add more weapons to your getting or staying in shape arsenal with 8 brand new treadmills ready for you to run or walk a mile or 2 or 10. And with the explosion of interest in pickleball with instructors Joe Rosa and Jody Thurman with more courts available. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness with large flat screens stretched across the weight room with Wi-Fi available, their own app to enjoy news, business, weather, or sports. Everywhere you look, there's energy, passion, and commitment. New touchless water fountains outside of each locker room, and all the locker rooms with showers, sauna, and whirlpool. Upgraded PA system throughout the world-class tennis courts with a youth academy led by pro Britt Coleman. Fitness and tennis merchandise available and a tanning bed. I promise you'll look and feel better. You just need to walk through the front door. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness with personal trainers Christy London and Randall Corley. 40-plus group exercise classes, including twice-a-week boot camp. It's time to react today, not tomorrow. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lake Shore Drive in Waco.
Escape the mundane with the responsive power and exhilarating agility of a new Cadillac from Richard Carr Cadillac. Smile behind the wheel again in the supercharged sophistication of a CT4 or CT5 sedan, or the sporty and spacious XT4, XT5, or XT6 lineup of SUVs. Starting at only $33,395, the Cadillac of your dreams is waiting now at an affordable price at Richard Carr. Test drive from the expansive selection at Richard Carr Cadillac, or let us bring a test drive to you. Go to richardcarcadillac.com to schedule a test drive today.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Baylor forced to use a timeout. Bohannon puts some air on the throw, lofts it to Ebner, who goes airborne, hurtling into the end zone. Touchdown, Baylor.
The 4 o'clock hour is sponsored by Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store, specializing in custom jewelry and repair, all in-house.
Now, here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
United States won 3 out of 4 matches this morning. Ryder Cup at Whistling Straits up in Kohler, Wisconsin. Right now, they're up in 2 matches through on the back 9, up 3 in 2 matches, all square in 1 match, and also down 2 with the back 9 to come. And so that's the update as of right now. And of course, the Ryder Cup. The Europeans have won, 7 of the last 9 of those. Thanks to Hayden Bumpus, I am now on the chat room. Nathan Harvey, thank you for the $1.99. Arkansas is weird.
He just wants you to say that?
Yeah, just wanted me. So I think he's talking about the football team. From John Kelly, I don't believe some of these fans on sports podcast saying we'll never be again just looking at beating Tech last week and growing on that. I'm not sure where that goes. Sooner Jay was concerned about, West Virginia and also Oklahoma. BU Bear, that's a good point. Very possible their offense is no joke, West Virginia. And also they might be able to put pressure on Rattler. And Rattler has not, it depends. He's been kind of erratic. Wouldn't you say, Paul?
Yeah,
Craig?
I think he's been.
Sorry, Craig.
I think he's very erratic.
I think I would disagree with West Virginia's offense being good, or whatever he referred to. The quarterback certainly isn't. Jarrett Deggy is not a great quarterback. He is their weak link, in my opinion. And, they got a good running back in Letty. They're always going to have some, nice athletic wide receivers. But I wonder how much we see Garrett Green tomorrow, because if Spencer Rattler even plays a respectable game, then I think Oklahoma wins that game and wins it not like blowout fashion early, but, certainly comfortable enough. And that wouldn't surprise me if, as a result, you see Garrett Green maybe get a shot to play a little quarterback, run the football a little bit. But, a lot will depend on how Oklahoma looks and how West Virginia allows them to look.
Gregory Krug at Dylan Vance, I hope that you are correct. I do think we have the offense to beat Oklahoma. Again, one said, hey, our offense, I don't think we're enough. We don't have enough to stick with Oklahoma. It depends on what, I guess, OU's defense is allowing tomorrow. If I think they've been pretty solid for the most part defensively. I mean, they've obviously had their deficiencies and their letdowns, but yeah, I don't believe in Daggy churning up enough points.
No, even on a bad day, Oklahoma's going to score 30 points, 24. Well, what was it? 24 against Nebraska.
23-16.
Yeah, 23-16. So then that was a bad day where they were kind of lazy on offense and all.
Well, they limited explosive plays, except the extra point that was blocked. They limited explosive plays, and you have to do that. And they themselves converted a bunch of third downs to keep the clock and the sticks going.
But they're going to score 3 or 4 touchdowns on a bad day. So that means that's a good day for West Virginia is 4 touchdowns. That's a really good day. Yeah. So you have to have a bad day intersecting with a good day. And I'm not saying that West Virginia can't win, but I think a lot of things for Oklahoma have to go wrong for that to happen.
From Dylan, Oklahoma offense is not that good this year. John Kelly maybe used Green. Craig, you brought that up at quarterback with RPOs. And West Virginia cannot take their foot off the gas in the second half like we did last week against Virginia Tech. Yeah. It depends on whether you have your foot on the gas with a win or a lead and what's going on with that.
I think West Virginia can win this game. I don't think it's an impossibility like, Kansas playing Oklahoma or something like that. But I just think that a lot is going to have to go right and some things are going to have to go wrong, self-inflicted for OU. And a big one of those would be bad Spencer Rattler showing up or turnover-prone Spencer Rattler showing up. But if turnover-prone Jarrett Daggy shows up as well then it's going to be a long day for the Mountaineers. But no, with that defense and with that coaching, I think they're going to be in the mix. It's just I just trust OU a bit more.
All right, here's a few others from there's a lot of West Virginia, Oklahoma talk, and I can see that.
That's
from
a good game.
Beating Virginia Tech was worth nothing. Texas Tech did not deserve the number 15 ranking any more than UNC did the top 10 ranking. Virginia Tech sucks all the time anyway. And
they were probably a bit overrated, you're right. And, some of that's being the blue blood and whatever. But not that they're a blue blood, but you know what I mean.
From Simon2077, K-State is also using a 2-quarterback system, Howard/Lewis, until Thompson returns.
Yeah, Lewis, I think we'll probably see a bit more of him this weekend. I'm curious about that, actually, because Kleiman said that we're going to see him involved, but last week Will Howard had a respectable game. He didn't have to go out there and win it with his arm or anything. They run the football, and they do it very effectively, and the quarterback's a part of that run game. And, with Deuce Vaughn, anything's possible. I mean, that's that dude, and that defense is pretty good, too. K-State's good. That's going to be another really good game tomorrow in Stillwater.
All right, let's go to a couple of more of these to play catch-up from Christian Young. At the very least, they'll begin on a bad note. Texas will not last, and Oklahoma probably won't much better. Talking about moving into the Big 12, a couple of people said they're anti-Texas and Oklahoma. Some aren't. There's also Texas and OU fans that are on the chat about wanting to see each one of them struggle going into the SEC. Oklahoma still will most likely in the end win the Big 12 championship, no matter what they look like right now. Now, they can't fart around too much. and they kind of are. And who knows, tomorrow they could score 50 and everything's fine. But they do need, there's something missing, and I don't know exactly what it is, and it could be that defenses are trying to find a way to kind of at least contain them a little bit.
Well, I mean, part of it's, you got a big lead in the first game, or you got a nice lead in the first game, eventually pulled away, and then, you allowed them back in it because you couldn't run the football very well, and so you're just handing the ball back. And Lincoln Riley's been susceptible to that at times. Like, hey, we can get a big lead, but we can't hold a big lead. And that's been problematic, but something they've been able to overcome more often than not. They're not a perfect team by any means. I think that when their best is at their best, they're better than probably everybody in the Big 12. And I don't think that's a stretch to say that. But their best hasn't necessarily been their best, and especially starting with Rattler. So, you also lose big-time defensive lineman this week. You lost one of your cornerbacks this week in Woody Washington. They're still stacked, but it's going to be tough.
Couple of more. It's pretty crappy. K-State game, once again, will be broadcast on ESPN Plus at 2:30. We've all had kind of that experience. One experience with Texas State was nightmare. The last one on ESPN Plus with KU, at least the game I watched, Baylor, was so much better all across the board.
I had a really hard time, kind of figuring out how much do I want to buy into K-State, like at the top tier of the rankings, because I think they're really good, obviously, but that was only 1 week with Will Howard, right? So I think tomorrow will be very telling, and how they perform on the road against a stout defense like Oklahoma State. They're clearly good. I'm curious how good they are. If they can sustain it even with the loss of Thompson, because if they do, if Howard comes in and they just don't skip a beat, then start getting ready for Chris Kleiman to have this thing rip-roaring every single year from here on out, which I kind of expect anyways.
Well, the guy knows how to win national championships. He knows how to prepare. I mean, granted, it was at the FCS level, but they hired him because of the way that he coaches and not, necessarily the fact that he's done it at that level, but he did it repeatedly over and over again, and they wanted that same mentality. And what he does works at Kansas State. It's very similar to what Bill Snyder did.
It's very similar. I mean, it's almost like he was on his staff.
Outside of terminology and maybe some updated offensive and defensive concepts, they're doing the exact same thing.
Yeah,
Arkansas is apparently down. I didn't see this, but they have a couple of offensive linemen against that A&M defense. That could be an interesting thing. But A&M also, again, trying to figure out what will Calzada do in his second full start after Haynes King went down a couple of weeks ago.
Well, that's unfortunate. I haven't, obviously we're driving today and whatnot, and maybe that was out earlier than that. I don't know. But, it's part of the deal, right? Something you got to overcome. And so big opportunity for both the Razorbacks and the Aggies tomorrow. You don't want to be losing linemen in a game like this. I mean, that's where it all starts and stops.
From Dan Davis, happy Friday, you sickos. One more day.
I will say,
it's a compliment.
I will say, going back to that K-State game, I'm saying all this about K-State, and I'm really curious if Will Howard – and crew can get another win without Skylar Thompson. But I'm really curious about Oklahoma State, too, because, there's just not really they're unbeaten, but they barely escaped Boise, and we know that really should have been a loss in the long run. I mean, it had all the arrows pointing towards a loss, and they were able to get out of there alive, which, to their credit, But there's just not a lot of excitement surrounding Spencer Sanders, I mean, for what there is, there's just as much apprehension because of the one great thing he does, and then the next thing's a bad thing. And they finally got to run the ball last week a bit. But, I don't know. I guess this is the entire Big 12 you could say that about right now. But tomorrow we'll figure out a lot.
From Badger and I just had it go against me. From Badger, he was talking about SMU's my favorite team because I loved Eric Dickerson. He was my favorite running back growing up. And also, K-State plays at 6 against Oklahoma State. That game on ESPN Plus from Simon 2077. From Jaybird, every other Power 5 conference had numerous teams just miss out as well. Still managed to get 2 in. I just think pressure will be on the new Big 12 to get someone there fast. I think he's talking about the playoff, the college football playoff. If they expand and you don't get in, then you are screwed. And I don't know if the Big 12 has anybody that will be a college football playoff team this year. That someone will get better, whether it's Oklahoma, even though they're unbeaten, people act like they're not, or who it might be. They'll get better along the way. And you know what, Paul, Craig? There's like 6 or 7 teams that have been in almost every time. Not every time, but you have Clemson and Georgia and Alabama, and you have Oklahoma, and there's Ohio State, and there's a few that have interrupted that along the way.
It doesn't help that they don't have any teams that the media respects outside of the two. They don't. I mean, like TCU and Baylor and Oklahoma State and, K-State at times, like they've all been good. They've all played for one Big 12 titles. They've all been in BCS games. They've all been in New Year's Six games. They've all been like this close to being a playoff team or playing for a national title. But for whatever reason, when the league gets brought up, it's always, just the same old. And the rest of them, even when they're pretty good, they don't get treated like really good teams. They get treated like really good teams because Oklahoma or Texas is down. Or, you know what I mean? It's not like when somebody from the SEC that's not Alabama or somebody, they come rip-roaring and have a great year. Look like Arkansas right now. Yeah. Oh, my God, Arkansas, blah, blah, blah. If that was TCU, nobody...
Jumps right into like 12.
Ole Miss, Arkansas, they're right in the mix, and it's like not even a blink. But if that were to be TCU or like Tech, you better win 5 more games before we take you seriously.
That's why,
and you better not lose any games.
Right.
That's why I think I used to not really put anything into this, but because the SEC's been great about their propaganda machine, I think that people like Paul Feinbaum, have this kind of this elitism is contagious, and there's elitism all over the place. And so when somebody tells me that Paul Feinbaum says something, I said, I don't really care what he says unless he comes up with a cure for damn cancer. I don't care what he says.
The last time I listened to Paul Feinbaum,
when he was on our show that day talking about his book, the SEC.
He has
Save the World
Herbstreit and Fowler, and they start politicking as well. They do, and I don't know if broadcasters that do play-by-play should do that.
No,
not during the game, but they're bringing up at least opinions and topics. That's okay.
But it is. I mean, I do think that we're in this day. We're a society that is very susceptible to propaganda and accepting it as news.
Yep.
Whatever you believe in. If somebody who says that.
Okay. For example, how many people are now pro-vax that weren't pro-vax when the last president was talking about a vaccine?
Yeah, exactly.
And now flip it and see who's pro-vax that was anti-vax when this other guy was pushing it. You know what I mean? Like that. Yeah, propaganda. We're so
susceptible to it, and I do think that the SEC network and all that is part of it because there are a bunch of people who, and again, you just listen. Okay, well, this guy knows who he's talking about, but the people in the know don't really often have a say, which is what the committee was supposed to filter through. The committee was supposed to filter through all that noise. It was supposed to not matter. When I think about Condoleezza Rice, do I think Condoleezza Rice gives a crap about Kirk Herbstreit has to say? No, but how many people in that committee are swayed by certain things? That's why I do think that something the playoff needs to change. So the committee doesn't really have to make that many choices. The committee has to make obvious choices in front of them. And
the committee's no different than what we had before, which is a poll.
Yeah.
If you think about it, it's just a different poll. It's just a different level of poll.
So the BCS was actually the best because it was just no personal, I mean, I guess they had in the formula, so to speak, but it was just computer doing it.
If you gave me the 12-team playoff and the first 6 teams are highest ranked conference champions and the last 6 teams are in because of a robot, I'm pro robot.
Yeah, Gary Lewis gives us the rolling eyes on just the mention of Feinbaum. Also, fun fact from Puduk. Paul Feinbaum has never thrown a football in his life. Someone's arguing back and forth about K-State being a football school, mentioning Terrence Newman and Darren Sproles and Joey Nelson.
What else would it be? Of course it's a football school.
It's the greatest reclamation project in the history of college football.
Maybe twice.
And Bill Snyder told Smokey during a one-on-one interview he did with him, something I'll always remember, that his first year there, it is November. It's starting to get cold.
Yep.
And he's looking around and nobody's wearing Letterman jackets. And nobody's wearing, the hoodies or the sweatshirts or the sweaters that they gave him. And he says, guys, why aren't you wearing your Letterman jackets and your gear that we give you? And they're like, oh, coach, if people know that we're on the football team, they'll give us hell.
We got to go out after the game and go downtown or wherever they go in Manhattan.
So it's like Florida State football with that co-ed.
Exactly.
Like that co-ed.
We got to pretend. Yeah, we got to pretend like we're not on the football team. And that was when Bill Snyder, it took him to that point to understand what he was really dealing with. So that's how bad they were. Yes, they're a football school. Now, are they a blue blood? No, but they're a football school. There's tiers.
All right, so here's the TMI from Bob Williams. Bob, I got my Cologuard results. Is that a colonoscopy? Is that what he's talking? Bob, what are you talking? I'm good to go. No more pooping in a bucket for 3 years.
Here's what I'll tell you about Cologuard. I think that's the worst job in the history of jobs. You
don't think cleaning porta potties?
No. Okay, here's what that guy, like the guy who cleans a porta potty kind of knows what he's getting into. The guy at Cologuard just sits in an office and waits for boxes of crap to come to him. It's not a good job. Yeah. That's a really bad job.
All right, thanks to a lot of you in the chat. We've tried to kind of pick up on that if we possibly can and catch up with you. We have some more guests still to come today. We'll update the Ryder Cup a couple of different times. Owen Buchanan, A&M in Arkansas, he'll discuss that today at 4:45. Back to your text. We have a few more of those coming in since the last time we started the segment. Back to your chat room comments as well. We're taking predictions on the Big 12 games or the game of your choice. Wisconsin, Notre Dame, Texas A&M and Arkansas, or another one as well. Memphis and UT San Antonio is kind of intriguing as well. 254-339-1122, SICM 365 Radio.
Richard Carr, Buick GMC Cadillac. Got a lot of great deals going on right now over at Richard Carr. Labor Day has come and gone, but the Labor Day savings are lasting all month long. And, of course, with Richard Carr, they are all about the customer service. They are all about getting you the best deal possible. And right now it's been a little bit difficult because, the inventory is not quite what it has been in years as it usually would be right now. It's been a little hard to get new cars on the lot, but they do have new and pre-owned vehicles that you can come by and check out. And the good news is the Labor Day sales savings have continued throughout the month. Is if they don't have what you're looking for on the lot right now, well, they'll get you signed up for their list of priorities and get you into the perfect vehicle as soon as the right vehicle arrives. But Richard Carr right now, as I mentioned, loaded with premium pre-owned cars and trucks. All those pre-owns go through a 172-point inspection before they're parked out on the lot. And with dozens of lenders, Richard Carr is looking to say yes when others say no. 100% credit approval is always their goal. They've got the Cadillacs, the ultimate American luxury vehicle. At Rich Car Cadillac, they'll find the right model for you, whether it's a smooth and powerful CT4 sedan started at only $33,395, or the lineup of SUVs, the XT4, XT5, or XT6. And as I mentioned earlier, if they don't have the right car or truck on the lot, they can put you first in line for the many that will be coming their way soon. So again, get your name on that priority list to get the perfect vehicle as soon as they arrive. Richard Carr is your local hometown dealership for those in the greater Waco area, so give them a chance to earn your business with great prices, free oil changes on new cars and trucks, and superior service after the sale. And they'll bring the test drive to you. Come by the dealership, take a test drive in the vehicle of your choice, or get in contact with them, and they will make it as convenient as possible and bring the ride to you. Richard Carr, take advantage of the Labor Day savings all month long. They are owned, operated, and run by loyal and proud Baylor Bears.
Y'all listen up. Let me tell you something about group meals from Rudy's Barbecue. It's got all you need for all the folks you gotta feed, smoked meat, sides, and more. There's everything down to the tablecloth, just like the one that you see at the store. At a bridal shower, it's better than flowers. And a long business meeting, it'll pass the hours. It'll feed all the cousins at a family function. It's better than potluck at a church luncheon. Next time you need to feed 10 or more, call and order a Rudy's group meal.
Next in line.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? By not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference. And that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Grant Dideker, under the umbrella of Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, McLennan County agent. When you contact people about insurance, and people are hit up with it all the time, what do you tell them? What do you say? I know you say you educate, but Texas Farm Bureau Insurance is obviously successful for a lot of different reasons and has hundreds of thousands.
the equipment you don't have. Take, for example, your rear end. If you don't have anything back there, you're exposed about what you don't have, and that's a life. However, if you cover that rear end with a hitch, you're telling the world, hey, I got a little junk in my bed, and I'm ready to pull something. A camper, RV, boat, trailer, jet skis, heck, even a bike rack. A hitch says, I have a life beyond driving my truck to and from work. And Pickup Outfitters is the place to get a hitch for your truck, SUV, van, even some cars. We sell and install just about any kind of hitch you need. Receiver hitches from light to heavyweight to pull just about anything. And gooseneck hitches and fifth wheels when you're ready to pull the heavy stuff. And don't forget trailer and brake controller wiring. It's so important to have wiring professionally and correctly installed by the pros at Pickup Outfitters. So it's time to cover that gaping hole in the rear end of your truck with a hitch. Installed by Pickup Outfitters. Check us out online at createacommotion.com.
Do you or your kids get nervous about going to the dentist? Stonewood Dental, Dr. Steve Childress, he can help.
I've spent a career taking care of patients who as children had bad experiences, and now they're adults that hate going to the dentist. If I get a kid at 3 years old and they come every 6 months and it's a happy experience, it's normal for them. Now they have an accident at 6 or 7 or 8 at school. Now they have a broken tooth or a trauma, and they have to come here. They're used to lights, they're used to the water in their mouth, they're used to experience, they already trust us. It's amazing what we can do with that kid without it being a negative thing. But if I see a 6 or 7 or 8 year old that's never been to the dentist, and now they have a trauma or an unfortunate unexpected toothache, it's harder to do that for that kid and it not be somewhat of a negative experience. So bottom line is I try to teach kids and adults and teenagers and everybody the way I'd want my family treated, which is where it's a necessary part of life. You just take care of it. It doesn't have to be that big a deal.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
In Texas, there's pea-size hail and baseball-size hail. Guess which one hit our house? We didn't even know where to begin, but we called our Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent, and he was so reassuring. He knew exactly what to do to get our house back into shape and our lives back to normal. Now, we're even more thankful for the roof over our heads.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness continues to add more weapons to your getting or staying in shape arsenal with 8 brand new treadmills ready for you to run or walk a mile or 2 or 10. And with the explosion of interest in pickleball with instructors Joe Rosa and Jody Thurman with more courts available. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness with large flat screens stretched across the weight room with Wi-Fi available, their own app to enjoy news, business, weather, or sports. Everywhere you look, there's energy, passion, and commitment. New touchless water fountains outside of each locker room, and all the locker rooms with showers, sauna, and whirlpool. Upgraded PA system throughout the world-class tennis courts with a youth academy led by pro Britt Coleman. Fitness and tennis merchandise available and a tanning bed. I promise you'll look and feel better. You just need to walk through the front door. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness with personal trainers Christy London and Randall Corley. 40-plus group exercise classes, including twice-a-week boot camp. It's time to react today, not tomorrow. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lake Shore Drive in Waco.
Y'all listen up. Let me tell you something about group meals from Rudy's Barbecue. It's got all you need for all the folks you gotta feed, smoked meat, sides, and more. There's everything down to the tablecloth, just like the one that you see at the store. At a bridal shower, it's better than flowers. In a long distance meeting, it'll pass the hours. It'll feed all the cousins at a family function. It's better than potluck at a church luncheon. Next time you need to feed 10 or more, call and order a Rudy's group meal.
Next in line.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? By not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference. And that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Grant Dideker, under the umbrella of Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, McLennan County agent. When you contact people about insurance, and people are hit up with it all the time, what do you tell them? What do you say? I know you say you educate, but Texas Farm Bureau Insurance is obviously successful for a lot of different reasons.
Right.
And has hundreds of thousands.
It's personal service.
Okay.
It's one-on-one service. Just yesterday, went to a client's house, met with the couple, went over all the coverages, and they said, wow, we've, never had this before. We've had this different insurance and that different insurance, but we've never had somebody actually come to the house and go over everything with us. And wow, we really appreciate that, especially this day and time where it's just a click of a button and you really don't know who you're dealing with. It's a different person you call every time you call that 800 number. You don't know who your agent is. Now they have a face with the name, and it's more personal service.
Grant Dideker, Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, McLennan County agent. If someone wants to contact you, just straight on your cell phone?
Yep, 254-265-0442.
Grant Dideker, Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, a McLennan County agent.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street in Waco, is a hidden gem. They've got a great selection of spirits, wine, and the most extensive selection of craft beer in Waco in their gorgeous walk-in fridge. And they have an amazing array of high-end bourbons like Pinhook, Weller, Buffalo Trace, Brush Creek, Hotel, Garrison Brothers, Thomas S. Moore, Hooten Young, and Bardstown. Great customer service and a convenient and speedy drive-through window. Riverbend Liquor and Wine. Find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
Boozers is the wedding ring store and more. If you're ready to get engaged or already married and want to upgrade your wife's ring for a special anniversary, Boozers is the place to go. With the largest selection of premier quality diamond engagement rings and wedding rings in Central Texas. They have 7 cases with over 300 styles of rings from top designers like Natalie Kay. Choose from yellow, white, or rose gold, plus beautiful top quality loose diamonds. With an in-house jeweler, they can also custom make anything you want. Bring in a picture or drawing and let Boozers create your one-of-a-kind pendant or ring. They can even use some of your old gold and diamond jewelry to create something new. At Boozers, you'll find a great selection of quality timepieces, and Boozers is the place for expert watch maintenance and repairs too. They specialize in expert Rolex watch repair for fine jewelry, watches, custom work, and more. Go to Boozers on Valley Mills and Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Boozers, the wedding ring store and more.
This is Sikkim 365 Radio. Text us at 254-339-1122. The Sikkim 365 Radio text line is sponsored by Riverbend Liquor and Wine, with the most extensive variety of craft beer in Waco. A hidden gem on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street.
Than that, then there's going to be quite an interesting couple of years until that possibly happens anyway. Also, I brought up Southern Mississippi, Tulane, SMU, and others. Here's what I have learned as well today. The Big 12 was contacted not by just the 15 or 16 or 18 schools that were probably someone who they wanted to look at, but maybe as many as 40. Schools from a lot of the group of 5. You never know, right? How do you know if you can make a basket or get a hole in one if you don't take a swing or take a shot, right? Most everybody understood who the pecking order might be. But there are sometimes what you call like silent type visits on campus, and you look around and you kind of see the infrastructure. And there was, without question, some of you going, why the hell did you bring up Southern Mississippi, Smokey? Well, because I think that there was at least some contact. Which direction? I probably would think Southern Miss raised their hands. They're not a part of next chapter 2 or probably on the radar, but there are some things that go on that sometimes it's more of, hey, we once were left out. We were once spit on, had sand kicked in our face, and so let's at least understand that others need what they need, and let's try to be at least somewhat friendly about it. Right? Well, you never know what you need down the road. Not that So on YouTube, the chat room is going crazy. A lot of talk now about the history of Kansas State. And I mentioned that before the break on NFL players or whatever. Bill Snyder made K-State. We've mentioned that. From Purdue, K-State is an athletics program that does things right, does its absolute best with what it has. The principle was installed and embodied by Bill Snyder, and Bill Snyder's coaching tree, of course, is also very, very impressive as well. Here's from LTP. Baylor fans are unrealistic. A successful season is still 6 wins in a bowl game. Perfect next step for Aranda. People need to pump the brakes. If we keep it close and play ISU tough, that bodes well for you. LTP, I think because of the last decade, now I think there was a time Baylor fans, God knows what they'd do to give up to have a winning season in a bowl year. Those days are done. Those days are no longer acceptable Now, this year after you missed a bowl game, yes. 2018 after you were 1-11, yes. I don't think Baylor's putting the money they're putting into athletics, what they've done with the new stadium, and overcome so much with some of the other things they've dealt with. They're not happy with just getting to 6 wins. Now, this year, my point was after 2-7, go get back into a bowl game. Slow steps or small steps, whatever you want to say. But I don't think that is now the common denominator of success in football at Baylor.
Yeah, hey, Smoak, we're getting it. Art Strickland said it's probably better to go now because the wind is howling on the course.
Okay. All right, we'll do that. You let me know. Also, so LTP, I just respectfully disagree with that one on particular comment. From Mike Bean on Kansas State. So a football school with 0 natties, 0 NFL Hall of Famers. Hell, even Kansas has 3 NFL Hall of Famers. Kansas. Can Kansas State be a football school? Maybe not in the tradition, Rich, of what you think. I think Kansas State's had basketball team, Rolando Blackman and other things as well. But I do think Kansas State right now is thought of as a football school. The opportunity that they blew in 98, even though Snyder was good for a long time, you never know with that Michael Bishop team what they could have done had they played for the national championship.
Yeah, I don't think anybody thinks of K-State for any reason other than football when it comes to athletics, in my opinion. So for me, I only know K-State because I grew up watching them play football. And I grew up watching Bill Snyder. Yeah. And I grew up watching Michael Bishop. And now I'm watching Deuce Vaughn. I don't think about K-State basketball or baseball or any of that other stuff. So no, they are not a football school by definition of championships and blue. Nobody's saying they're a blue blood, but if they're anything, they're a football school. You know, Baylor's, I guess, more of a basketball school now. But before, you would have said they're a football school, and they hadn't won any national titles either.
You are what your best program is.
Yeah, exactly.
From Chris Cobb, one other note, Baylor non-conference schedule. How about the home and home for the next 20 years with either Texas or Oklahoma? Your AD has said that they're not. It did not say no on possibilities of non-conference games against Oklahoma and Texas. We're the ones that asked him that question. We're now joined by Art Strickland, PGA Tour columnist, covers the PGA Tour. The Ryder Cup goes on. The United States with a very successful morning right now, trying to hold on and get another couple of points and maybe more in the afternoon. Art Strickland from Whistling Straits. Ryder Cup 2021. Art, it's a very impressive morning. Let's start with that and we'll catch up on the afternoon. I know that it's windy as hell out there. Well, that morning, was that a surprise that the Americans normally do well the first part of the Ryder Cup in the morning on Thursday or Friday?
Very much Smoak. In fact, the captain, the American captain, the home captain, picks the order of play. And so Steve Stricker picked alternate shots to start out. The Americans had never started with alternate shots in a Ryder Cup competition home, ever. And he picked it today. That was the right call. They go 3-1. Can't we? Is unleashed. I mean, Brooks Koepka, quite the gamer. I mean, let's face it. Starting alternate shots for the first time ever. Brilliant move by the Americans.
Art, we had a guest on yesterday that said maybe some of the scuttlebutt around this American team that it's good that none of them have, well, not a lot of them, that there's a lack of experience in the Ryder Cup considering the veterans who've moved off this team had no success.
I think you're right. I think that's 100% correct. There's no scar tissue. Scotty Scheffler told me, he said, I shed tears of joy when I found out I was going to be on this team because I was going to have a chance to show what I could do. And so I think that's what you get from those young guys. I mean, my gosh, I mean, Evander Shoffley and, Paul Cantley opened up a whooping stick on Rory. And those guys remember playing the Ryder Cup before. Rory's a veteran. Sergio couldn't find the fairway today. I mean, I think you're seeing young guys rise to the top. You're seeing guys that want to make their mark. And let's face it, it's early. It's just Friday afternoon. We got a lot to go. But everything Steve Stricker has tried has worked. And we're in a really good position now. But as you know, it's still early.
Right now, 2 American teams are up, 3 up, 4 up, with just 4, 5, or 6 holes to play. One match is all square through 14. Another one, the Europeans are up 1 with and that's just through 12. So who knows? So he also switched up the team. Sometimes you'll see captains stick with the same type of pairings. He switched that up, and that was kind of something of interest. That means also that everybody is going to have a chance to play by the end of the day, and that doesn't always happen either. What kind of those decisions do you think they were?
Oh, I think that's good. I think that's a gutsy decision to sit Jordan Spieth this afternoon. I mean, when's the last time Jordan Spieth sat on the first day of a Ryder Cup? I think that's a really gutsy decision. But I think you're right. I think his goal going in, Smokey, was to play every player on day one. That's exactly what he's done. And so tomorrow, obviously, another long day of golf, but everybody's going to have some game shake to them. Everybody's going to play, and I think the fact that we've got everybody in the game, and you're invested. Let's face it. When you play, you are personally invested in the outcome. Not cheering on your guys, but you're part of it. You're part of it. And the fact that Scheffler and DeChambeau are playing together, it got a brilliant move. So, right now, if you're an American fan, I don't see how you can say it could have gone much better.
Bryson DeChambeau is hooked in with Scheffler. Now, we know that DeChambeau is a different animal, and that's part of matching personalities, or those who at least have some sort of, I would think, either friendship, what is a friendly rivalry, or some sort of connection. Is that what that is with DeChambeau and Scheffler?
Yeah, they're both Dallas guys. I mean, DeChambeau plays at Dallas National. Scotty plays at Royal Oak. But certainly they play some golf together. Spieth and Justin Thomas have been long-time partners. So you weren't going to mess that up to put Scotty and Jordan or Scotty and Bryson together. And so you set a Jordan, which certainly a gutsy move, but then you put Bryson, Scotty Scheffler together. They certainly played well. So I think you're getting rookies off to a good start. I mean, Cantley was red hot during the FedEx playoff. And that certainly carried over to the Ryder Cup. And you see guys like, Koepka, who's not, obviously he's got health issues. He gamed it up this morning. Mm-hmm. He played his best golf when he was hurt. So I think that what they tried has worked. I think the young guys, having 6 rookies and guys that have no scar issues, that's worked brilliantly.
The course to me is gorgeous, even though it's also unique. It is just amazing with all the bunkers, like 1,000 of them or whatever, might be more than that. If you went out and played the back tees, ball down, would you break 100?
Oh, no way. No way.
I don't know I don't know how many people would. That's just to kind of have fun with that one. I don't know.
In these conditions, I mean, it's a 4-club win today. I mean, you saw that Spieth hit that shot on 17.
Yeah, I saw that.
It blew him back. He almost fell into Lake Michigan.
He did. He really almost broke both ankles. Coming down the hill, that was an amazing shot. I hate the fact that the putt was missed, but that's okay. All right, Art.
I think that's why he's not playing today.
Art, give us a prediction, Baylor and Iowa State.
Oh, boy, great game, Smokey. Really great game. I may be the only guy watching that tomorrow at 2:30. But, I just think they were playing really well. They're playing at home. They won at home 2 years ago. What about 24-22 Baylor?
All right. Thank you very much, Art Strickland, PGA Tour columnist. The Art of Golf, by the way, and he takes groups to special places, like, for example, Brandon Dunes, or to Whistling Straits, or overseas to the great courses in Europe and around the country and the world. When we come back, Olin Buchanan, A&M in Arkansas tomorrow. Olin will break that down for us next on Sikkim 365 Radio. Petty Clinic, LowT.com. Dr. Ken Petty can help you become the high-performance man that you want, need, maybe even used to be. As you get older, your testosterone level can drop. Not everybody, but 1 out of every 3 men have symptomatic issues of low testosterone. What are those symptoms? You don't sleep as well. Your sex drive basically just disappears, or it's not quite the same. And your focus, your energy, it starts to really be a problem. Dr. Kent Petty will set you up to get your blood work. He'll get the lab results back, look at your testosterone levels, And then if you have low testosterone, if you're in that neighborhood of 1 out of every 3 men, he could put you in a program to increase your testosterone levels so you can become the high-performance man that you really, really want to be. And maybe you used to be. Here's how you get a hold of him. Go to pettycliniclowt.com on the website, pettycliniclowt.com. You can, if they ask you, tell them Smokey sent you. It's Dr. Kent Petty, helping you become the high-performance man that you want to be at pettycliniclowt.com.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible and rewarding challenge. Hi, everyone. This is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like mortgage lending, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Boots add protection. Good boots help you climb better and move forward faster. And when your son or daughter steps into the boots of a U.S. Army officer, they also learn how to lead. In these boots, they'll gain more confidence with expert training in one of more than 150 occupational specialties. In these boots, they'll stand a little taller and lead a team with diverse backgrounds and areas of expertise to successfully accomplish whatever challenge comes next. In these boots, they'll earn respect with valuable experience from day one that will give them solid footing for success into the future. Highly qualified candidates who earn a spot on our team can receive comprehensive health care coverage, college tuition assistance, and a bonus of up to $40,000. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Ram Power Days are going on now at Allen Samuels with the new 2021 Ram 1500 Quad Cab Lone Star with total values up to $7,000 or 2.9% for 72 months. The 1500 Lone Star Quad Crew Cab offers style and dependability for any job. It's the Ram Power Days going on now at Allen Samuels, 201 West Loop 340 in Waco.
Come by, let's be friends.
See dealer for details. All offers have credit requirements.
Don Humidor, your home with a 48-foot walk-in humidor with the elite cigar brands from around the world, including the #1 cigar of the year, Aging Room Cuatro Nicaragua. Plus, they have the great brands like Macanudo and Artur Fuente, Rocky Patel, Aston, and so much more. CBD, great for sore muscles, aches and pains, sleep, Vita Dreams, and anxiety, mild depression, general health and wellness. Their staff very knowledgeable on the subject. If anyone is curious about CBD, ask Carol and Ashley. Don Humidor in the Townwest Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. This segment with Olin Buchanan of TexAgs.com is sponsored by Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness. With over 40 group exercise classes Monday through Sunday on Lakeshore Drive in Waco.
There are a couple of national games, and there may be more than that, but two in particular have been getting a lot of attention, and one of those, of course, is that Wisconsin game in Chicago with Notre Dame, and in Arlington at Jerry's World at AT&T Stadium, the continued rivalry, Arkansas and A&M, and they have put on some amazing games and finishes in recent years. And Arkansas had that nice win against Texas early, so who knows? And A&M, of course, with that incredible defense and the high expectations. Olin Buchanan, TexAgs.com. Olin, these two have done and put on some incredible games in the past. Does this look more like this could be just a knockdown, drag-out, low-scoring game, or do you think that it might get into any kind of a foot race?
No, I think it's going to be a defensive game like it's projected. A&M's playing really good defense, but has struggled to move the football. So if A&M can keep it a low-scoring game, just based on what we've seen so far, that would definitely benefit the Aggies.
Olin, Jimbo Fisher called the team average last week, which I'm sure was a rallying cry to play up to what he feels is their potential. Do you feel that will work, and do you think that Zach Calzada another weekend will be that much more comfortable in the offense and they'll be able to open it up a little bit more?
Well, I think every day that Zach Calzada plays, practices, whatever, he's going to get better. Of course, the bar was pretty low when you saw the way he started, but he got better in that first game against Colorado. I think their biggest issue, even more than Zach Calzada, is get better in the offensive line. And right now, we don't know if Leighton Robinson, who missed last week's game, we don't know if he's going to play or not. And if he doesn't play, that's just one more big problem that they have. So if he says they're playing average, then that means the defense is obviously above average and the offense is below average. So it averages out.
Olin, what were your impressions of Calzada?
Yeah, he was better. He was good. Throws a nice deep ball, and I wouldn't be surprised if they throw deep more often with him. He needs to learn a couple of things that, young quarterbacks that are making their second start need to learn. If you're under pressure, it's not there. Throw the ball away. Don't take a sack because you're just holding on to the ball too long. And don't throw into coverage when you can throw the ball away and just have a next play. He threw an interception last week that was just so unnecessary. His receiver was well covered. He was trying to escape the rush. He was almost at the sideline. Just throw it out of bounds.
Olin Buchanan, TexAgs.com. So Arkansas, seems like Kendall Briles and that team have something going. They hammered Texas, but I'm not so sure they didn't hammer them more with what they did defensively, but they do seem like they have a quarterback that can be dangerous at times. What is the concern, if there is, when it comes to facing Arkansas's offense?
Well, I think it starts with that big quarterback, K.J. Jefferson, and his, the running threat that he provides. He ran the ball really well against Texas. If they were sleeping at all on the zone read, he was keeping it and going around the end, and I think he had a lot of success that way. So I think that's where it started. And quite frankly, A&M, not lately, but at times this season, have had trouble with the running quarterback. So I think that's where it starts. I believe they want to keep him contained the best they can, really play good assignment football on the end, make sure he gives the ball up before you chase it. And then when they pass, if they can get them in the passing situation, I think they want to keep him in the pocket. Don't give him places to scramble, because I think they feel like they have a better shot putting it on him, throwing it, than they do, with him running.
Olin Buchanan, TexAgs.com with us on Sikkim 365 Radio.
Olin, do you think that Calzada has done a good job of getting the ball to all the Aggies playmakers so far, or is that something else he needs to do better?
Yeah, that's something he needs to work on, even though, last week it was New Mexico, but he threw a nice touchdown pass to Demond Demas. He had a nice throw to Devon A-Chain for a touchdown. And he hit Jalen Wademeyer a couple times, but he's had Wademeyer open a few times and missed him. Sometimes he seems to lock in on Chase Lane a little bit too much. But I do think that I'll look for him to throw some swing passes to Isaiah Spiller and Devon A-Chain. I think he'll throw deep a few times. And, I do think that they'll try to run some high percentage passes for him.
Olin, I did notice, and I know that you probably hear about Varsity Blues a lot, but look, Vanderbeek is back doing HEB commercials. When are you going to get some of that scratch? I'm sticking up for you, buddy.
Well, thank you, because at least get a guy from Texas. He's from Connecticut, for crying out loud.
Oh, Mox.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
I just kept waiting for you to come around the corner and go, "That's right, Mox."
Yeah, hey, I would do it. At least my accent's real, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Olin, the games at AT&T, I thought, was I wrong? Did they ever discuss going back to the home and home? What happened with that?
Yeah, they're going. The contract still has 4 years on it.
Okay.
Now, they took the break last year because of COVID, but it's going to run out in 2024, and then they'll go back to home and home.
Okay, all right. I look forward to it, man. I look forward to seeing what Arkansas can do, obviously, because they jumped out on the national map with that win against what is Texas, and who knows with them if they're overhyped, overrated, or just having a bad day.
No.
I know.
Texas overhyped? That never happened.
Ever. Like for the last 10 or 11, 12 years. But, hey, good luck, man. Thanks, Olin. Have a great time. Have a great weekend.
All right, thanks for having me on.
Olin Buchanan with a little A&M shot across the bow with Texas and Arkansas and Texas A&M. 2:30 is tomorrow.
And for those that don't know, Olin's in Varsity Blues. He's the reporter that comes up to Moxon after the game and starts asking him questions in the parking lot. That's Olin Buchanan, and that's the Varsity Blues reference.
Yeah. Knew Olin when he was a young writer at the Tyler Morning Telegraph.
Yeah, and he and James Vanderbeek he has moved to Texas. I looked this up because I didn't know. I'm watching the game the other night, and here comes Vanderbeek throwing passes at a high school stadium talking about HEB, and I'm like, how does James Vanderbeek know anything about HEB other than the 4 or 5 months he was here in 1999 making a movie? But apparently he lives here now, so they roped him in and said, let's get himself some groceries.
Smart. All right. It's been 30 years, and that movie's still, I don't know what it's like amongst the teenagers now. They probably got like 17 different versions of something else, but still a cult classic for sure.
We will have Sam Bradshaw, S11 on the site, analyzes Iowa State, what they do, analyzes Baylor, what they do, how each will try to counteract each other. Also, on the broadcast tomorrow on Fox, Brock Heward is the color analyst. They're in town. They're having meetings. And I was told that there was a change of who the play-by-play person was going to be, and so that means they've added a little bit to their meetings to try to get on the same page or whatever else. If he can join us before 5:30, he will. Texting him, waiting for a response on that. But when we come back, we'll update the Ryder Cup, and also, oh my goodness, some of you continue to roll on the chat room. And Raymond in Waco. I still think the Big 12 might surprise us with two big names after all is said and done. If Bob Bowlesby makes an effort to bring in, I don't think any big names. The only possible big names is it dependent on what happens with the Pac-12. And hey, Paul, Florida State's not leaving the ACC, and if they did, it would be the SEC.
Yeah.
Miami's not leaving the ACC. If they did, it would be the SEC.
Yeah.
How about let's go get Miami? Right? The Big 12, go get Miami. I'm not saying that's a thing, but what the hell? Let's dream a little bit, right?
One of the things our buddy that we're going to have on the show on Friday, Tony Altimore, sent us Wednesday. He sent us is that the models project out to where maybe it's going to be more financially reasonable in the future to have football and basketball conferences and then everything else conferences based on travel and all that, because football players make the university. I'd have to go back and read the text, but so many $1,000 per student. Most students cost $20,000, and other student athletes cost money. So they'll have to find a way to tighten all that up in the future, so that having a football team isn't just putting money into nothing. Or they'll actually make money off of it, which, again, will make it worse.
That presentation is going to take me a month to read it, but we're going to have him on next Wednesday. He's going to try to condense some of what he sent us with graphics and images on the Big 12 and all of what's going on, what has gone on, and what still might happen, and why some of it either makes sense or does not. All right.
We might need to get him on to where he can, share the screen and just go through it with us.
And that's why we wanted to wait till next week, because we couldn't have done it today. Thank God we didn't
Yeah.
try to do it today with the technical things we're doing with the high school stadium. But Monday or Tuesday, he has dental work. So Wednesday's the day we're going to have him on, and maybe he can, like it's a presentation up on a projector for our audience and for us as well. All right, when we come back, Sikkim 365 Radio, more of your chat, text, and it's 254-339-1122.
It's the football weekend. And look, if you're looking to place a bet, betus.com. Remember these promo codes, Sikkim125 and Sikkim200. It's a 125% bonus if you use cash, a 200% bonus if you use crypto, if you use those promo codes on betus.com. And they've been serving clients for 25-plus years and prides itself on being known as America's favorite sports book. And with action on every sport across the world, we can pretty much guarantee that they've got your game. And BetUS offers the industry's bigger retail bonuses to keep their players betting longer, like Sikkim125 and Sikkim200. So go to the website this weekend, betus.com. That's betus.com, promo code Sikkim125 and Sikkim200.
It's Baylor football season, and as always, Berg Colgin Ford supports the green and gold. Hi, I'm Mark Stewart with Berg Colgin Ford. It's time for team celebrations and BU touchdowns. Berg Colgin Ford is your home team when it comes to trucks and tailgates. Ford has the perfect truck for you to host a top-ranked tailgate party. Here's to a winning season for our hometown Bears. Visit us anytime at bkford.com. Buying made simple at BK Ford. Sick 'em Bears.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Cam Heathcott, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Cam Heathcott, covering Conroe and Houston, 936-756-7717 or cam.heathcott@edwardjones.com. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
In the market for a quality metal building? Since 1943, Pioneer Steel & Pipe has helped Central Texas residential and commercial customers with metal building design, panel options, building components, and trim options. Pioneer Steel & Pipe's residential line is energy efficient, offers low maintenance, reduces insurance payments, is impact resistant, and carries up to a 45-year limited warranty. In addition, they can also help you find a metal building contractor for your project. Pioneer Steel & Pipe with locations in Waco and Bryan and at pioneerboys.com.
You want to know why Stonewood Dental is so successful? Listen to what happy customers have to say.
It's pleasant. It's different than any other dentist office. I really feel like they care. And it's not that you're here for 2 hours waiting on someone to take care of you. It's quick and easy, and I bring my kids, and my kids love being here too. They really love the treasure box. Staff is really nice and accommodating, real friendly. You feel more like home. It's not sterile looking. Everybody has their own personalized rooms with decorations and decor, and they'll even have a blanket for you when it's cold. I've recommended people to actually come here, and they are patients now. I really love it here. It feels like family.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
Shorty's Pizza Shack at 12th and Bagby is a homegrown, family-owned and operated must-visit pizza place in Waco. Fantastic pizza by the slice or get the whole pie to share. Great happy hour specials every single day, and it's not just pizza. Great wings. You have to try the Sikkim sauce, chili cheese fries, pizza pillows, and more. Dine in for a great hangout or carry-out. Order online at shortyspizzashack.com or do yourself a favor and bring your crew to the restaurant at 12th and Bagby. Shorty's Pizza Shack. Tell them Paul sent you by.
For a limited time, refinance your vehicle and have 90 days with zero payments. Only at Genco FCU. Refinancing lowers your rate and you pay less for your car. You can't pass on rates as low as 1.75% for 48 months. Apply online today.
Annual percentage rate subject to change without notice. Subject to credit approval, membership eligibility, and loan policies. Go to GencoFCU.org. NCUA Equal Housing Lender.
My money, my future, my credit union. Genco.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
playing on Sundays in the not-too-distant future. Third down and short, play designed to go left. Smith cuts it back up. See you later. Touchdown, Abram Smith.
The 5 o'clock hour is sponsored by Edward Jones Investments with financial advisor Tom Albers, staying in touch with you and your money through these difficult and changing times. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
All right, here we go. Sikkim 365 Radio, YouTube 365 Sports, in the chat room, a life of its own at times. For a while there, it was about Kansas State and those either taking shots at K-State or those defending K-State. And some of them also, including one that I put up, was talking about the respect for Kansas State. Now it's gone to Texas Tech and their defense. From BU Bear, Texas Tech keeps insisting they have a defense this year. We'll see tomorrow. Speaking of that.
I mean, I don't know about their defense either, and we will see based on Bijan. I don't know how much we'll see as a result of Casey Thompson, though. You know, like he wasn't asked to do a whole lot. He'll be asked to do a lot more tomorrow. And so, yeah, we should get a bit of a test as far as the run game goes. But passing-wise, probably need a little bit more time to know.
Bob Williams, Texas to the 35-21 from also, this is from Simon. If Texas Tech's defense shows up, that game with Texas could be quite the game, but in Austin, the Horns will win. And they have tried like hell to create a home field advantage, but that's not always been the case. Now, since Chris Del Conte arrived, and they've been trying to, spice up around the stadium and up and down. It's a big place, a big, huge mausoleum-type structure, and they've added and added and added, and they have at least created a little bit more atmosphere up and down around the stadium, but it hasn't always been a home field advantage for them. It has not always been that way. Some of their better wins seem to be neutral or on the road the last several years. Tell me where I'm wrong, and I'm not saying that in a argumentative way. When Vince Young was there, they always seemed to win in Stillwater.
I don't think anybody gets scared to go to Austin and play.
That's what I'm saying.
And their fans have gotten to a point where they sit on their hands. And it happens in a lot of places because you get apathetic. I think they're also, you're just hearing from guys. I remember just talking to Chip Brown, and he was saying that, part of the problem is that you go to other stadiums that are, smaller and all this than DKR, and they have ribbon boards and they have engaging things during the game. They do these promotions, and they, fans are kicking field goals and stuff like that. And in Austin, for whatever reason, they weren't doing any of that stuff. He said, so there was no game day atmosphere. It's easy you have to combat the phone right now. You have to combat the phone. So if the game gets boring, especially if the students just start looking at their phones and texting each other back and forth about what they're going to do later.
Wait a minute, phones are available at every stadium.
But you have to combat. You have to combat it everywhere.
I know,
Texas
but there's other stadiums that's not. There's an atmosphere.
Yeah, Texas hasn't done a good job of building the atmosphere to where you put your phone away.
Gary Lewis, anyone have a read on Tech's run defense? That's question number one. And then Stephen Davis responded, Texas Tech has good defensive backs, linebackers, but can they create a pass rush that may very well determine the game? I love the fact we're getting some questions about that game as well.
They've got a good run defense on paper right now, but, like I said a few minutes ago, we'll learn about their run defense exactly with Bijan Robinson because Texas is going to run the football. But, I don't know so much about the pass defense. That's kind of what I was saying is as I think we'll get a determination on the run defense tomorrow. And as far as some other areas, we'll probably get a determination there either because if they can't pressure the quarterback – with this Texas O-line that we know as right now is not the best, then, that could be a little bit of a sign of a problem. But, that could also be Casey Thompson being very elusive like a Jason Bean type and getting away as well. But, yeah, we'll definitely learn some things.
From Simon, and this is a good point, most of the Big 12 defenses are showing improvement ever since the 3-3-5 defensive scheme. That's why most of these games should not be shootouts anymore. Matt Campbell.
Yeah,
Chris Kleiman, Matt Rule, right? And obviously there were
Matt
others.
Campbell.
Yeah, that started this run. Yeah, and
Rule,
Dave Aranda.
Yeah, and Matt Rule took the tips from Iowa State. I said that yesterday, and took some pointers from them on how they started to play defense, and I think others have as well. And then, you add in the mentalities of the Dave Arandas and the Chris Klymans and those types, and it has become a defensive league in a very quick amount of time. And, you look at the question marks for the entire Big 12. I don't worry really about Baylor's defense. I think TCU is always going to have a good defense. Iowa State's always going to have a good defense. Oklahoma's defense has gotten better. Still kind of wait and see on Texas a little bit. And some others, you're kind of just like not full bore. Like, I know they're good. But you look at the offenses, though, and there's some good offenses, but there's not, outside of Oklahoma when they're operating at their best, I don't think there's anybody that's like it used to be where you had like 5-6 teams that all had quarterback, running back, wide receivers that were, putting up monster numbers all the time. That's just not the case anymore.
Guys, the main reason I think Kansas State beats Oklahoma State is they have two very good backs, one of the great moves, one with great speed, Deuce Vaughn, Joe Irvin. Also from, let's see here. There was one other one about, let's see. Oh, here's from Andy. Here's a note about the Big 12 from Andy Olson. I firmly believe Bowlesby is only posturing to create havoc for the ACC and Oresco, AAC, with a fake second round to keep them up at night. With the Big 12 has no plans to expand. No, I think they do. Andy, thanks for your chat. But no, I do think the Big 12, this is not to keep Oresco up at night because Bowlesby's been there, and he probably didn't want somebody else to do it. I think they are absolutely, and they do want to move to a Chapter 2. The question is just a bunch of legalities and the timeline, and it's going to take some patience as well.
I have no doubt they're legit looking at it round number 2, and as far as the timeline though goes, there's not one. There's not this is in the next 6 months or this is even in the next 3 years. But obviously with grant of rights coming up, that's going to have to be something to debate. But they have no choice but to keep being proactive because again, if the Big Ten or somebody finally decides, you know what, maybe we should expand, or maybe the Pac-12 wakes up and goes, you know what, maybe we're not as secure, we need to expand. What have you, and you lose another couple of teams potentially, then, you're going to do this all over again. So I think they're trying to not only settle the waters, which they did, but they're also trying to build up for the future and ensure that they're not ever in this position ever again. And really to the point is, I don't know, maybe you'd be onto something, but I just don't understand why Bob Bowlesby would give a damn about what Mike Oresco thinks or be worried in any way, shape, or form about the American Conference.
He's got his own problems still.
Why would he possibly care about trolling the American? It does absolutely nothing for anybody. I mean, that just doesn't line up really.
By the way, I love this part of the chat room. Yeah, thank you. So Bob and Simon and others asking about Colin asking about who served. Bob Williams, who's the big Auburn fan, served at INSCOM, U.S. Army Intelligence and Security Command. Thank you for your service. From Colin, go any military service. Let's see, there was one. Simon, Naples was a blast. The Isle of Capri was just across the bay. I want to read a couple of these if you guys don't mind. Let's see. From Gary Lewis. I also spent 9 months in, Paul, is it Busan, south of South Korea? Sounds like you never had to go Westpac. And back and forth with some of those. Gary, Switzerland was the best place I got to visit. The Alps, Bernese Alps, is that right? And also Lugano, beyond words. Let's see, from Simon, boot camp and A school in San Diego, duty Europe, East Coast. And there's more and more of others who have served, giving us their opinion of what they did and where they went.
I've never served, and I doubt that at this point the military is going to come calling. But if I had to pick where I was going to go for boot camp and for my first assignment, San Diego would be up there.
Yeah. No, but it's in San Diego, right?
Well,
This is from Simon one more time. My ventures were Italy, Greece, Germany, Switzerland, England, Scotland, France, Spain, and Turkey. Wow. He said Turkey, of course, very anti-American. Mm-hmm. So thanks to a lot of you who were a part of that and back and forth in the chat room as well. Bob Williams, we used to have missiles here at the colorless, gender-neutral Air Force Base. That's from Bob. Andy Olson, I love the 335. Isn't it amazing? The SEC was known for playing allegedly and defense, and the shootouts were, you're right. Now it's flipped.
Well,
they are the ones with a lot of the shootouts.
It's because of the elitist propaganda machine. They've got it, and like, oh man, they figured out offense. Now, I would say the difference is that the SEC, even though they have some more offense now, still has better defensive linemen.
They do.
And defensive backs across the board than everyone else. So, you have those games that are shootouts, but you don't have. I do see more and more games that wind up being 49-21, and the 21 happens with 2 touchdowns late because the good team, the Alabama or whoever, lets off the dogs, but they have a pass rush and won't quit.
All right, it's 513-254-339-1122, the number to call, 254-339-1122. Got some news from the NFL yesterday in that win last night. Christian McCaffrey out. We mentioned that earlier in a kind of a story about Jennifer. 1, 2, 3, or 4 weeks.
Yeah, probably means about 6, but, hamstrings are tricky.
Former Oklahoma State star running back Chuba Hubbard came in at 52 yards rushing, had 3 or 4 catches for about 30 yards. So there's a little Big 12 note for you right there as well. From Steven, if Tech is going to win, they have to stop Bijan. The only way, to me, and I'm not saying he's like, we don't know if he's Eric Dickerson and all that. You see that. He got a lot of hype and he's good. Had the huge bowl game. You stop him if you jump out in front early, so they don't just have a chance to go offense, run the ball, be able to throw the ball, play action, whatever they do. You stop him by jumping out in front early. That's what Arkansas did, right?
Yeah.
And it took him out of the game. That's how you do it. I still have the belief that some NFL teams can get down early and still run the football and get back in the game. Remember the Cowboys sometimes would get away, but then they would still feed Zeke. Even when they were down and they would get back in the game.
My new podcast partner, Danny White, has a saying every week called he mentions the football gods, and he says that the football gods will make you pay if you're out of balance. And I think you see that when teams, they get down early by 10 or 14. Well, in an NFL game, that's nothing really. And then they start just chucking the ball around the yard. Well, if you weren't doing it all that well in the first place, why get away from your game plan just when it's early? It's a couple of bad moments. I think that's mostly just bad coaching of, all right, well, we've got to scrap the whole game plan. No, you don't have to start winging it aroand the yard until the late third, early fourth quarter if you're down 2 scores.
All right, we have a request from Caleb Bachman. Can you guys give your picks for the Big 12 this week? You should do and make a segment designated each week for your Big 12 picks. I'm not really good at predictions. I admit that up front. I sometimes let maybe even, I don't know. But let's do it for today.
Okay.
Let's see how it goes.
For Caleb.
Is
he in the hospital or something?
Might as well.
Yeah.
We're just, let's go.
So you want us to hit a home run too?
Iowa State at Baylor.
Going Iowa State.
Iowa State.
And I'll go with Iowa State as well. All right. See, now a lot of you that want to sometimes talk about who we are or what we cover, we don't pick Baylor probably half the time.
When
it depends on who they are.
We do the midweek game tonight. We won't be saying we and us and that stuff either, but whatever.
West Virginia at Oklahoma.
I'm going OU.
OU. Okay. Texas Tech at UT.
Go Texas.
I'll Texas.
All right, me too. Now, this is the one that's intriguing. Kansas State at Oklahoma State.
Give me the Wildcats.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Power Cat all the way.
I'm gonna go. You know what? We got to do something different here.
Well, I mean, we're just being smart, all of us.
But see, Oklahoma State, they'll win this one, and then they'll
They're very underwhelming to me. I mean, defense is good, but I'm just not. They won that game last week because of a whistle.
Yeah, I mean, they did. I mean, they won because of a whistle, and outside of that, they've been wholly unimpressive. I'm not buying any Spencer Sanders stock. I know and understand he'll probably make some plays to win some game this year. Maybe it's against Baylor, and I'll see it up close in person. Doesn't really matter, but I'm just not impressed by them, and I think they're a good team. That's a bowl team. That's this, but I don't think they're like somebody you're worried about raising the Big 12 trophy at the end of the year, which they should be, quite honestly. But it is what it is.
SMU at TCU.
TCU.
This is boring.
Yeah, I mean,
but this was a week where there are 2 or 3 games that I almost hope for the Big 12's sake they flip, in some way. And then Kansas at Duke.
Yeah, I guess
I'm taking Duke, no question
so
about it.
So we don't have any at all. And that's why we also have been getting your feedback on the chat room as well. From the 620, thank you guys for answering my question. Praying for a miracle this weekend. Talking about Kansas and Duke from the 620.
Hey, that'd be great. Yeah. I just don't think they have enough in the tank to be able to pull that off. And hey, admittedly, I don't know a ton about Duke football. So I mean, I know that they're 2-1 or something like that right now. And so that's the last time I think I worried about them or spent much time thinking about them. Daniel Jones was the quarterback years ago.
And
they were playing Baylor. Yeah. Outside of that, I have no reason really to keep up with Duke football. But I mean, I saw Kansas last week, and I can't imagine there's too many teams that are lower than them. So I mean that respectfully. I think there's progress being made, and Leipold will get that thing turned around. But it's going to take a ton of time. They just have to give him that time. But
he didn't start on January 1st either. So they're already with a new coach, which is usually you're behind all the people who come back with the same coach, and then add on to that the fact that he starts in May or whenever he did after Les Miles had to leave.
He started after spring ball was already done.
So spring ball's over, so they didn't have any of that. So they're behind everybody. Look, the high school team we do Midway, their coaching staff changed really, really late. And before the first game, I asked a couple of the coaches. He said, "Look, I wish we had 3 more weeks." Which, if you think about it, that 3 more weeks would be the 3 weeks that everybody got for spring ball, at the 6A level. So that time matters because it's time that you can chalk up to doing the basic things of this is what we call this play. This is what we call this formation. This, as opposed to now you have to do that later where everybody else has been working on all this time and they know. So it's the little things and you can't really game prep as much as you have to take time away to do things, just your basic installs.
Interesting you bring that up because while talking to Shane Anderson yesterday, we do a show on Thursdays in the studio that we then send out to Midway ISD. And he told me that this was not during the interview, that he doesn't know if they'll do spring drills. In fact, he's kind of against it. They need to get in the weight room. They need to get into the off season. They need to get a full, mental and physically focused in on, trying to get things right. And then on top of that, because right now they do need more, it's not the numbers, it's sometimes where the numbers are as far as the talent or lack of it, is the possibility of other sports that play in the spring that would not do football, that maybe they can get a few other players interested. Mm-hmm. I think for next year, that's a smart thing to do, or for this year, be next spring, might be a smart thing to do. You get the extra week of workouts. Most 5As and 6As don't look at it that way, but that's interesting. You're talking about time because they had not much of it. Ryder Cup update. Dustin Johnson and Xander Schauffele are up 2 through 16, so that match is dormy. Tom Fleetwood and Victor Hovland are 1 up on Justin Thompson and Patrick Cantley through 13. A long way to go there. Scotty Scheffler and Bryson DeChambeau up 1 on Hatton and Rahm with just 3 holes to play. And Tony Finau and Harris English obliterated Rory McIlroy and Shane Lowry 4 and 3. McIlroy lost 2 matches badly today. Poulter lost. He rarely ever loses in the Ryder Cup and did not play in the afternoon. Americans up 3-1, now 4-1. Up in 2 other matches, and the other one's tight, and one of the ones they lead is also very tight as well. All right, let's see here. Smoke, see y'all are on the same page as I am. People will be mad you didn't pick Baylor. 6 wins will be tough, but a successful season to get to a bowl. In Aranda's 3rd year, we need a big jump up. I'm not picking them to beat Iowa State because I think Iowa State's ahead of the curve. And this is, until proven otherwise, a team that might get the 6 or 7 wins. If they beat Iowa State, things change. But what I'm saying, and it's a good point, LTP, but what I'm saying is Baylor has too much emphasis now in football, too much going on with football, the stadium and more. Maybe this year, 6 or 7 wins might be acceptable. For some, that they think the ceiling's higher. But I don't think that's the annual standard anymore because of what they've done really since 2010.
No, I think that their history dictates that you can maybe have a down year or so, as where other programs aren't acceptable to that as long as you rebound. Well, look, Grant Taft, the greatest, the guy who's the statue of outside of of the stadium. He had a couple years in a row where they weren't bowl eligible. I mean, it just happened. The classes would kind of cycle through, but he always got them back to competing in the Southwest Conference. So they were not perennially, they weren't, Oklahoma, where they're winning the conference every year, but they were good. But they're now at a point where they've got to think that 8 or 9 wins is that's their over-under every year, and not 6.
For anybody that rolls their eyes, how many would they be averaging the last 5 years when they were going through NCAA hell and 3 different head coaches and multiple different coordinators that were all a result of that? They'd have already been in the playoff a couple times if the regimes didn't change over, and they had to, obviously, or they needed to, or whoever, whatever had to change. But then Matt Rule comes in, and he had them in the same trajectory. Had them right back there 3 years later playing in the Sugar Bowl. And had he stuck around, they would have been a lot better last year than they were. They would have been a bowl team last year, no question in my mind about it, because he would have had his stuff in place. So there's reasons to have expectations. The only reason they haven't had success as of late, even though, again, 2 years ago was the Sugar Bowl appearance and a Big 12 title game that took Oklahoma to the wire, was because of massive coaching changes and penalties hanging over their head, and all that's out of the way now. So I think if Aranda just, seems to be as locked in as he is, and they start to build and build and build it, it's been proven. Just stay out of your own way, and you can win Big 12 championships in football here, and you can knock on the door of the playoff, which I am completely convinced they would have gotten into somehow or another in the last 5 years if nothing, goes sideways NCAA-wise. But that did happen and all that. But point being, Browse won here, Rule won here, and would have been still winning here. And now it's Aranda. But it's been proven by more than one person, because people used to always say, well, only Grant Taft can ever. And then Browse came along. And then it was, well, he was just different. He's the only guy that could have turned this thing around and whatever. But, okay, maybe he was the only one that could have turned it when he did. But the fact of the matter is there are plenty of guys who can also keep it turned and keep it winning, and I think we saw that with Rule, and I think we're going to see that with Aranda. And anything less than a bowl game this year will be a disappointment because they're already 3-0.
Well, and
you can't win 3 Big 12 games in this next 7 weeks, or 8. No. Next 8 weeks.
Yeah, 9, 10, they got a bye weekend.
Oh, and a BYU game. You can't win 3 games out of this, then that's saying something.
So here's the biggest difference, though. Grant Taft, and people need to understand this, won in spite of the fact that the athletic department gave them no money. None. I mean, based on what it is now. And
you're talking about when Taft arrived?
Yeah, I mean,
They had a weight room that was basically the janitor's locker.
Yeah, and they got like the Nautilus machines.
Yeah.
So you go to other schools in the Southwest Conference, and they have legitimate weight rooms with other things in there, and they wouldn't give him that. So Grant Taft won in spite of the fact the athletic department was not keeping them competitive, and it's one of the reasons. It's probably been the major reason that he retired. And now they have an athletic department that keeps them competitive and facility-wise, and they spend when they need to spend. So that's why it's not going to be hard. It's not going to be impossible for anybody else to come in here and win. They've got the backing. They just need to make the right decisions recruiting and coaching-wise.
And that also why they were mentioned as in an athletic article, I think it was a few weeks back when all of Realignment was starting to pipe up and all that was going on and confused me. There's been so many articles, conversations about it that I forget who's who and where exactly I saw it. But one mention was of teams that would have potential interest from outside partners is, of course, Baylor has the mark against them because of the religious aspects, so like a Pac-12 wouldn't fly most likely, right? But the thing that was mentioned as a positive for them and why they were actually mentioned before a lot of other Big 12 schools was their financial commitment to athletics. That was looked at as a massive positive, which you couldn't have said back then, Paul, but now you can say. And now it's one of their actual strengths. And, oh, look at that. They're winning and stuff. Imagine that.
Yeah.
Crazy how that happens.
Yep. No, you're right. Absolutely. This is from, by the way, Blake. Oklahoma State is the only team that's ever beaten Texas 4 straight times in Austin. That is true, but some of the most gut-wrenching,
oh man, they've had some
mind-numbing losses or comebacks when Vince Young was at Texas was in Stillwater.
I remember watching
like
that
one
game.
year they were up like 31 to like 7 or 3 or whatever it was, and he brought them back.
I was in Plano, Texas, watching it like a family member's house. That's how vividly I remember it. And watching Vince Young and just going, "Oh my God, they're actually going to lose this game," and there goes their national title hopes and all that. And sure enough,
yep.
I went to.
He came running. He had an 80-yard touchdown in that game and just went nuts.
My dad and I went to the A&M game that day with Kyle Louie, our friend Smokey, and on the way back, like we walked out of the stadium. And Texas was losing, whatever it was, 35-7,
whatever it was.
You're getting throttled. Everybody at A&M won their game that day. Everybody in Kyle Field's laughing at the Longhorns, and their national championship run is going to get clipped by Oklahoma State. We get in the car, listen to the post game, and I said, let's flip over and hear what Craig Way's saying right now. Flip over to Craig Way, and Vince Young just run a 60-yard touchdown in, and he's like, and the Longhorns are in it. And I was like, oh, great.
You want to know what the score was? I just looked this up. The final was 56-35. At halftime, Oklahoma State led 35-14.
Yep, they choked.
At halftime, and Texas scored. At the very end, it was 35-7. They then scored 49 consecutive points. Young had a screen pass, and then boom, Cedric Benson started going nuts, and then it was over after that. I mean, it was just – and that happened, I think, a couple of different times with UT and Oklahoma State. It's weird. Kansas State and Iowa State have had – Iowa State and Oklahoma, Kansas State with Texas, and of course, Texas – owned Nebraska the times that they played from the very first championship game. It's so weird how certain teams just, they have a number. Hey, see where we are now. 2019, an incredible 4-overtime game. Baylor beat TCU. The amazing 2014 game. But that was the only time since 14 because Patterson's kind of owned them, since that time. And that's it's just certain teams have edges against others, not just because of talent.
And again, I mean, he has, but let's compare the situations. He's also faced 3 head coaches in that time period from the other school and massive exoduses of recruiting classes and, all that jazz. But to his credit, that rivalry has died down a little bit.
TCU and Texas. 7-2, right?
Yeah.
And Gary Patterson has
I'm not diminishing him. I'm just saying the Baylor-TCU rivalry took a huge hit when the coaching changes happened. It did, because the rivalry was as much the head coaches as it was the school.
Well, and then there was a couple of them that just the darkest of all clouds in the history of ever.
But Gary Patterson he's always going to have a bee in his bonnet about Baylor, no matter what.
Sam Bradshaw is next, S11 on the site. He's next to break down Baylor and Iowa State, how they attack each other, and much more. I think we're going to try to get Brock Heward early next week since he's going to do the game. They had a change of the play-by-play announcer, and it's kind of moved some meetings back. I get it. He needs to be prepared. They need to be together with chemistry. We're live in Duncanville, Texas at Panther Stadium, one of the great high school programs in Texas. Reggie Samples last week won his 300th game with a win against crosstown rival DeSoto. All of that and more. Midway football tonight at 7. Also on 106.7 FM, the Eagle, Sikkim 365 Radio. Alan Samuels, Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat, the 2021 Grand Cherokee Laredo, the most awarded SUV ever. Total values of $3,250. $3,250. Beautiful design, elegant style, the Jeep Grand Cherokee Laredo. Your home for the 2021 Jeep Grand Cherokee, located on Loop 340 east of 84 in Waco. And how about this? The 2021 Jeep Grand Cherokee L, now in stock, rugged third-row seating, carries that prestigious Jeep heritage. Come in today and test drive it. Grand Cherokee L from Jeep at Allen Samuels. And then also the Ram Power Days continue with the new 2021 Ram 1500 Quad Cab Lone Star. Total values of $7,000 or 2.9% financing for 72 months. Ted Teague and the guys and the girls and the staff have an amazing thing going on at Allen Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat. And that 1500 Lone Star Quad Cab Crew Cab offers style and dependability for any job. And remember what J.D. Powers did. Ram was number 1 in the initial quality study. Dodge brand finished second to Ram, and the 2021 Jeep Gladiator first among all mid-size trucks. Allen Samuels, Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat, Loop 340 east of 84 in Waco.
At Baylor University, students can shine in their own way. Or should we say their own ways? Because there's no limit to the ways Baylor students make the world a brighter place. Whether they're leading a student organization or following a higher calling, getting advice from faculty, or taking part in world-class research, pursuing their dreams, or working toward their dream job, students find their place to shine at Baylor, where lights shine bright.
Stepping into a new pair of boots is great, but stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can also add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. There are more than 150 occupational specialties to help them find the best fit for their future. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Baylor Scott & White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, hand or wrist injury, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trusts. Baylor Scott & White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
It's time to fire up the grill, heat up the oven, or get that deep fryer going to enjoy the top quality products at Waco Custom Marketplace. Order 30-pound sacks of live crawfish by 6 on Wednesday. Pick up on Friday afternoon after 2 or Saturday. Enjoy the weekend. 30-pound sacks of live crawfish available right now for $4.25 a pound. Find all the crawfish boil ingredients you need, including red beef potatoes, sausage, corn cobbettes, and Louisiana boil seasoning. Make your order for live crawfish by Wednesday at 6. Pick up on Friday after 2 or all day Saturday, and enjoy the weekend. Waco Custom Marketplace, your home for fresh baked kolache, cinnamon rolls every day. Butcher shop to cut your steaks the way you want. Fresh seafood, summer sausage, boudin, house cured and smoked bacon, spices, seasoning, soup mixes, and more, and weekly gift boxes for any occasion. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com. At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business right here in Central Texas, and our goal is to bring down the cost of healthcare while maintaining high quality. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important, and unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through the difficult time. We offer premium MRIs just like a hospital with state-of-the-art technology and specialists, but you'll pay less. Sometimes thousands of dollars less, whether you're using insurance or not. At Ideal MRI, we accept most insurance and there are no hidden costs, even offering financing if that's needed. Everything included in the price, and you'll not get something as a surprise in the mail later on. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. They'll know. You can schedule an appointment safely from home online in minutes at idealmri.com or give us a call, 833-IDEAL-MRI, idealmri.com.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. It's time for our weekly segment with Sam Bradshaw of Sikkim365.com.
Sam Bradshaw on the in the premium section. You'll see him. He just like, here's a story, and it's always about either what just happened and or what is about to happen with Baylor and Iowa State. Such an intriguing game, it appears, tomorrow at 2:30. Also this, Brazos Parking, where Sikkim 365 has a tailgate location along with hundreds of others. It is Customer Appreciation Day. Enjoy a free item on them. Ice cream, cold Coors Light, Balcones Oktoberfest beer, whiskey sour cocktail. Paul, you're not allowed. Brazos Parking would like to thank Centex Satellite Heritage Creamery one-day bar, and that's tomorrow on the MLK location just across from McLean Stadium in Waco. We're now joined by S11 Sam Bradshaw. Are you dilated yet?
Of all the questions I thought you'd ask, that would not be one among them.
No, I was just making sure. Sam, of course, is on baby watch. We're excited about that for you and excited we get another week in. All right, Sam, this game is getting a lot of play. And one is that we cover Baylor, but also these two teams have put on some pretty interesting games of late. But Iowa State seems to still be a couple of years ahead because of the transition in the coaching staff. What are your thoughts about Baylor and Iowa State just overall at the start?
Well, Iowa State's come out not exactly sprinting like their preseason number 7 ranking would imply. They really kind of sputtered on offense. Their defense has been outstanding, but their offense really hadn't gotten in gear, whereas Baylor has looked mostly really good outside of a couple turnovers and drive-extending penalties. But at the end of the day, you're talking about a Texas State team that lost to Incarnate Word. You're talking about Kansas, and you're talking about Texas Southern, which might be the worst team they've played in 2 decades. So good on them for handling their business, but we really don't have a good barometer for this Baylor team. We're going to get it over the next 3-4 weeks between Iowa State, Oak State, West Virginia, and BYU. We're going to have a real good idea about who this team is. But, it's an interesting matchup because both teams over the last couple of years have made it to the Big 12 title game, but done so being consistently able to win close games in conference play. Going into those title games, both teams had been 4-1 in single-score games during conference play. So while Iowa State certainly got a lot of accolades off of making the title game last year, it's not that they were overwhelming. I mean, even Baylor's very struggling and COVID-impacted unit last year was a goal line series away from sending that game to overtime in Ames.
Sam, you mentioned that they've beaten all the people they're supposed to beat. Is there, when you watch the film, how much better is their technique, especially along the fronts? That way, granted, they can have the best technique in the world. If the other guy's better than you, he's better than you and beats you. But is their technique so much better that last year that you can see that they can be competitive and maybe even win this game against Iowa State?
Oh, without question, their technique is miles better. A lot of it is the simplification of the scheme. You're doing fewer things and you're doing them very well. But another thing is there were just times last fall. I mean, I keep pointing back to it because it's such a textbook example, but the West Virginia game, you had pass protections where nobody blocked the nose guard. You had, they run power and 2 guys on the front side are unblocked. You just can't have that. And this year they've done a good job of knowing their responsibilities, going out and executing. Now, how well their efficiency remains when they start facing some really strong defensive lines, we'll see how that goes. But as far as handling their own business and making the opponent actually beat them, they're miles away from where they were last year. And I absolutely think they have a chance to hang in there with this Iowa State team and potentially beat them. Iowa State really struggled against Northern Iowa and Iowa, at least offensively. And offensively, I really think that Iowa State's run game, their offensive line is pretty good, but I don't think they've got a bunch of NFL guys up there. I think you can limit them. And I really think in the run game, Iowa exposed this, but they really, really missed the 6'7", 270-pound tight end nobody could remember the name of, Dylan Sainer, the third guy in their trio. He's gone. He was the guy that did all the dirty work. And multiple times in that Iowa game, Iowa's linebackers or defensive line took one of their star tight ends and pushed him back, including on the play where they got the fumble return for the touchdown. The guy who punched the ball loose punched that tight end in the backfield first. Their line's solid, but I really think they're not blocking on the edge nearly as well. So Iowa and Northern Iowa sat with 4-man rush, variations on conservative zone looks, handled them on first down, handled them on second down, and then they either went to cover 1 or cover 2 man on third down, and ISU couldn't break out of it. their third down conversion rate was not good. They were punting far more than they wanted, and Iowa especially turned them over. And, you know, if Baylor can hold up against the run like that without giving up the ghost in the air, they absolutely have a chance to win this, because I was not impressed by what I saw against Northern Iowa and Iowa. And granted, those are two good defensive teams. But for ISU to reach their preseason expectations, they've got to pick it up.
Sam, when it comes to Gary Bohannon, this is clearly his biggest start to date, and he has looked good over these first few games, but again, the lack of competition. So what do you view as the most keys, the most important keys to Gary Bohannon translating what he's done so far to also doing it against stiffer competition? What do you think Iowa State's looking to do to try and prevent that from happening?
Well, with Iowa State, their defense, and this is where they're pretty innovative, athletically, their safeties, their linebackers, their corners, and even their D-line isn't necessarily any quicker than what you see, but because they run that 3-3-5, they can do an awful lot of disguise, and they are very physical. But they'll sit with three deep safeties. They could be in cover one. They could be in 4 or 5 different variations on cover three. They could be bringing a blitz. They could be dropping 8. They do everything out of a very similar pre-snap look. So it's going to be incumbent on Gary to just protect the ball. Use your legs to extend drives, similar to how Brewer's been able to do it against these guys the last couple of years. But really just protect the ball, take what they give you, do your best to get clues on what they're doing pre-snap, using motion, using formation. I have a feeling that'll be a big part of the game plan, to use formations and motion to really try and get these guys into some predictable looks. Because if you let them disguise and then surprise him at the snap all night, it's going to be really difficult on the kid. You've got to do everything you can to get them into some predictable looks. And if you can do that, you can scheme up some one-on-ones against that secondary. And I think Baylor's got the speed to run by these guys. Tyquan Thornton had a couple big plays against them in 2019, and a lot of those kids on the other side are still there.
Sam, who ends up with more yards rushing, Breece Hall or the combination of Abram Smith and Treston Ebner?
That's tough to tell.
Well, to Breece Hall's credit, you just named him, and it's 2 other guys he's going against. Yeah, but I know what you're saying.
But he's the lion's share of their carries. So,
yeah.
I mean, it's going to be a similar amount of carries, in my opinion. But I'd probably go with the 2 Baylor guys, simply because I don't think Iowa State's going to be as keyed in on them. But, I just haven't been impressed with Iowa State's run game against the 2 deep teams they played to play defense. And then, Baylor's so unproven. That's a tough one.
The thing about Purdy, and he can be erratic, but he had the really bad start against Baylor last year, and then he just seemed like if he can make a throw, and I guess it's like a pitcher who can't throw a strike, and then all of a sudden he gets somebody to swing at a bad pitch or whatever, but he's streaky. Is that who he just is? And does Baylor have enough pressure on him tomorrow? Can they get enough pressure on him tomorrow? We've talked about with you with you before. Do you think they can do that? Because that's what they need to do, but he also can extend plays with his legs as well.
Yeah, they've got to do their best. When they get to him, they've got to get him down. The way they let Brady McBride extend plays for Texas State, they can't let that happen here. Purdy's too good at extending drives and extending plays. But I think they can get to him. I think some of the stuff that Iowa and Northern Iowa did to get to him, I think Baylor can replicate some of that. And I also think that Aranda and Roberts have been extremely vanilla defensively because they really haven't had to be anything else. So why would you give people film on some of your preferred pressure packages and things like that? So I think they'll be able to get some pressure on him, because Iowa State's passing game, they've had a lot of drops. They've had a lot of misfires. I really think that passing game has kind of slipped over the last couple of years because while Xavier Hutchinson is a very good receiver for them, I don't feel like they've had that one can't-miss matchup the way they had with Hakeem Butler, where you just had like a 6'6" guy with a 7-foot wingspan that could outrun everybody. And that made it so much easier for those tight ends. That made it so much easier for Purdy. I just don't think they've had that much of a lead guy. And while Hutchinson is still one of the best ones in the Big 12, I don't think he's quite at that level. And that's, at least in terms of forcing a defense to scheme certain matchups for him. You know, I think.
Go ahead.
I just think with Purdy, he's going to be a gamer. I also kind of feel like he's trying to do too much at times, and then going too far in the other direction. You know, he'll press, and then he'll be like, okay, I turned the ball over too much. Now I need to play within myself. And then he goes too far in the other direction. And I feel like he's in his own head a little bit.
Thank you, man. Sam, we appreciate it. It ought to be fun. We get some evidence tomorrow. Paul, Greg?
Sam, how much did you enjoy watching a fullback score a touchdown last week with a tight end touchdown also mixed in on their first couple scores?
I feel like it's 1990 all over again.
Yeah. Those are the days.
Yeah, fullbacks and
God,
tight
back
ends
when
scoring
football
touchdowns.
was fun to watch. I'm not saying it's not now, but
Yeah, it was
just a
what?
simple game, huh? Back before there was the internet.
Yeah, back when BYU putting a tailback, fullback, and tight end on the field was considered wide open.
That's right. It was. All right, man. Thank you, buddy. Appreciate it. S11, Sam Bradshaw with us Fridays at 5:30 for as long as possible. Breaking down Baylor, their opponent, looking back at it as well. After the game's over, Craig does an audio podcast. Paul and JD do an immediate post-game show as well.
I think it might be me and Colt this week. I'm hoping
really?
for Colt, yes.
What?
We got to move cars, so we need to go to commercial break.
All right. Okay. All right. And also on top of that, of course, there's a lot of articles. Brian has his, Colt has his, Grayson has his. We all do. This is Sikkim. 365 Radio.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street in Waco. A hidden gem. They've got a great selection of spirits, wine, and the most extensive selection of craft beer in Waco. This walk-in fridge is awesome. It's amazing, and they've got an amazing array of high-end bourbons like Pinhook, Weller, Buffalo Trace, Brush Creek Hotel, Garrison Brothers, Thomas S. Moore, Hooten Young, and Bardstown. That last one is high-end, fancy. But they've got that stuff in droves at Riverbend Liquor and Wine. Great customer service and a speedy drive-through window. Also hiring right now, so if you're looking for a job, you can do a lot worse than the Chapmans. They're fantastic people to work for. You should, if you need a job, go into Riverbend Liquor and Wine and see them. Find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
You know what would make this moment better? Pizza. Dough made from scratch and an Italian family sauce recipe pizza. 3 fresh signature cheeses making a melty blanket of perfection pizza. Like loads of premium toppings like crispy Old World pepperoni, savory Italian sausage, and fresh sliced veggies pizza. That's Marco's Pizza. Visit marcos.com and make any moment better. And with 4 locations in Waco, Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and soon to open in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
It takes time to reach goals. It's a truth that applies to more than sports. It goes for your financial goals as well. You work hard for your money, and you deserve an investment strategy that lines up with your game plan. And Tom Albers, your Edward Jones financial advisor, can help. If your financial investments aren't putting forth the effort you desire, stop by today for a financial review. Tom Albers, 4301 Lakeshore Drive, 254-776-7605. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Escape the mundane with the responsive power and exhilarating agility of a new Cadillac from Richard Carr Cadillac. Smile behind the wheel again in the supercharged sophistication of a CT4 or CT5 sedan, or the sporty and spacious XT4, XT5, or XT6 lineup of SUVs. Starting at only $33,395, the Cadillac of your dreams is waiting now at an affordable price at Richard Carr. Test drive from the expansive selection at Richard Carr Cadillac, or let us bring a test drive to you. Go to richardcarcadillac.com to schedule a test drive today.
It's football season. Sports bettors and BetUS.com has your NFL and college football live betting lines up for their 27th year. WhyBetUS.com? Well, they're the 3-decade leader, and you can join now for a 125% bonus on promo code SICK'EM125 with cash, or a 200% bonus on crypto with SICK'EM200. The 3-decade leader with action on every sport across the world. We can pretty much guarantee that they've got your game at BetUS.com. Use promo code SICK'EM125 or SICK'EM200.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and two-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
This is Paul Catalina's Top 5 at 555.
Brought to you by Champion Salon and Barber. 2 locations in Waco, downtown, and in Woodway off Highway 84. I've been going there for 7-8 years now. Fantastic stuff. And you can get, look, they can get it, like, if you need, if you don't have a beard, if you, like me, now they shape my beard, but used to I would go in there and get a straight razor shave, which to me is one of the most relaxing things a man can do, is get a nice straight razor shave. They can do that for you, give great haircuts, and the Champion, where you get the whole wash and hot towel and all that, is fantastic as well. So Champions Salon and Barber, check them out online, Champion Salon and Barber. All right, top 5 things I am already tired of this college football season, Craig.
All right.
These are top 5 things I'm already tired of. Number 5, Heisman talk before the midway point. I get that there are people who are Heisman candidates, but we have played 3 games, people. 3 games. 3. Let's pump the brakes until after about 6 or 7.
Yeah, I don't know. I know that there's certain things that the media does that's just kind of it's almost like busy work or something. But like this desire to crown a Heisman as early as possible, I don't know why it's such a fascination for people. I think it's probably them trying to create a race and create something to get some buzz about. But, like, if you were to poll the media right now, it's like Matt Corral and then nobody else, And before the season, it was Spencer Rattler's to lose. So it's just silly, and they're hardly ever right about it, quite frankly. But, yeah, it's a little too early, especially in a year like this where it's not clear-cut. There's not like a Lamar Jackson, I guess, or Jameis Winston or something. It's very much up in the air.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, number 4, stupid infographics on Twitter by people trying to get follows. This drives me absolutely insane. I'm not going to mention this guy's name because I don't want him to get more followers. I wish he just put a picture of his genitalia on his account so Twitter would nuke him.
Is it an account that does like a quiz or like a thing like every day there's some random poll that they research? Oh, yeah, I've muted him, gotten rid of that one.
Trying to get follows, and people react to it. So, look, if you see an infographic on Twitter or one of these fancy things, and I'll give an example of best game day atmosphere in every state, and in Georgia they say Georgia Tech, that's BS.
Yeah,
it's not. It's not. It's just trying to get people from Georgia to say, no, that's not true, and they're trying to get follows, and they're trying to get people there. Or this is the same kind of people that say, the favorite burger chain in Texas is McDonald's. No, it's not. It never has been. It never will be. McDonald's, and I'm not trying to knock McDonald's. I'm just telling you that
it's just not true.
Yeah, Whataburger and Dairy Queen will be above everything. for all time here in Texas.
Well, we live in this fun world now where everybody just doesn't care about what it's over. They just want the reaction.
Yeah.
And I freaking hate that so much.
Yeah. So, again, if you see best game day atmosphere in California is at, Cal State Fullerton.
And the person doesn't have a real name attached to it,
Yes.
and you have no idea where their information came from other than them just creating a list, then, probably not got a lot of weight to it.
Yeah. If the best Twitter follow from a place is not anybody you recognize, believe me, it's not a great list. Number 3, people trying to convince me that UConn would be a good ad for the conference. That one, I've gotten that a lot. People have sent me that a lot. UConn, UConn should be a good ad. They should really think about UConn. Why?
Well, I guess you do run in women's basketball circles, so maybe that's why UConn is brought up. But for any football fan, we had somebody call up yesterday, and I'm not going to, bag on them for bringing them up, but they brought up UConn, and, just very simply said, they might not even have a program in a few years at this point. I mean, their football staff's getting completely remodeled, and we'll see what happens there. But, that is a dead-end football program right now. That was dead previously for a reason, quite frankly. So, no, they have no business. The only reason you would ever bring up Connecticut in the Big 12 is because ESPN's headquartered there, and that's not enough.
Yeah. Number 2, NIL deals for players who aren't that good. This one,
good for them.
But I, as a person, again, in this business, Craig, you and I and Smokey, we're in the business of marketing, and if I'm going to market something, I'm going to wait and know that somebody's going to be good.
There's certain towns where there's connections in behind the scenes, or the person's just really well liked and beloved all over town or something, for all we know. But there's been a lot of meaningless for the general public NIL announcements. That's just oh really? Okay, who cares?
And look, if you're just going to give a guy a deal to get him there, and it's kind of, faux.
Is it I don't know what Barstool did exactly, but didn't they just sign 100 athletes? And there's no details to it. It's just you're one. And it's just oh, hey, I'm one. And then who cares? What does it even mean? It doesn't mean anything as far as I know.
Give me somebody that's good. Look, I want, I
want freaking Trevor Lawrence on, and I know that's just the name that came to my head, but
I want Rattler.
I want Matt Corral on a Gatorade commercial. That's the stuff that makes sense. But the random golfer who's doing Instagram posts for the local honey manufacturer. I don't care. I don't care, and it's not going to make me buy anything.
Yeah. And number 1, Urban Meyer to USC talk. I get it that's not going to go well with Jacksonville. I doubt that Jacksonville's going to fire him after a year unless it's just so terribly toxic in that place that they can't go forward. The cons aren't going to make a move like Urban Meyer, and then unless again it's just a complete train wreck, going to get rid of him. They knew they were going to be bad. I mean, they weren't sitting in the office going, well, he's the missing piece. When you have the number 1 pick in the draft, you don't go from number 1 pick in the draft to good all of a sudden. It just does not happen in the NFL. And also, college football doesn't need Urban Meyer anymore. It's good to be rid of him. Let's just keep it that way. College football does not need Urban Meyer anymore. Let's keep him out of college football, and that's that. Smokey had to move his car. In case anybody's wondering, Smokey had to move his car.
Yeah. That's why I was trying to hurry him in the last break, because I had a guy twice come up to me saying, hey, we need to move the car. So that's what we were rushing to get to a break.
Yeah.
Oh, here he is.
Oh, he made it. Oh, look good. Right here at the end.
Well, tell you what. Hey, by the way, they're bringing, Cajun food up here at some point.
Nice.
So we've already eaten, so we can't have any of it, but... Yeah, and I was blocking an ambulance. Imagine that. Well, they asked me to park there, but we're good. We're good. I know it's late. All right.
Oh, Smoke. Only you.
Tomorrow, 12:30?
Yes, 12:30 pregame.
Pregame, Iowa State, Baylor. Can't wait to be that. Also, can't wait for the game. Paul Catalina for Craig Smoak. Thanks to Hayden Bumpus. Did a great job. Thanks to Tom with Duncanville ISD as well, along with many others. And Armstrong Sims back in the studio. Pregame, Midway. And Duncanville at 7 o'clock also here, but 106.7 FM, The Eagle. Good evening or good night for now from Duncanville, Texas.